This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky and as always I'm here with Matt Stewart and Jess Perkins.
Hi Dave, hi Matt.
Hi Jess, I'm Matt Stewart and we've got another guest in with us today as well, Dave.
It is our absolute pleasure to welcome to the podcast for the first ever time from Aunty Donna, it's Zachary Ruane.
Sorry to get too comfortable, but I'm going to call you Zack.
No, that's fine. I should say for the listener, you asked moments earlier if I prefer Zack and Zachary, and I'm doing a lot of promo for. We'll talk about that in a minute. And at the moment,
No, we won't.
And every interview has opened with, "Is it Zack or Zachary?" and I really haven't thought about it that much,
Okay.
and now I'm like getting really anxious that it's something I should think about.
Well, what do your family call you? Does anybody call you Zachary?
My mother when she's angry with me.
Yes, that's the only time I get Jessica.
Yeah.
And that's the vibe we like to go for with our guests. An angry mother.
I like to make you feel like we're scolding you.
I used to have a vision. I used to think, when I do comedy, I'll be Zach Ruane. The character is Zach Ruane. But when I do serious side projects,
Yes.
it'll be Zachary Ruane. And then someone was like, yeah, but then like that's going to like fuck your Google stuff. Like no one's going to be able to Google you. And I'm like, oh no. and then I think I picked Zachary Ruane for my socials. So then I was sort of doing that. And then my partner was like, that's a lot of sounds. I was like, Zachary Ruane. I'm like, oh no. And then I think about 2 years ago, I just shut down. I was like, I'm not going to think about this question anymore. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. And then just something is being born in me this week where everyone's asking and I'm like, I don't know. I don't care.
I don't think Dave knew what he was bringing up when he asked that question.
No, I thought it would be just say that at the start. Yeah, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
But really,
We've triggered a meltdown.
you're having a crisis.
Here's a little secret about me. It doesn't matter what you ask me. It will trigger a meltdown. I think I had about 4 meltdowns in the process of going. Matt also said, you know how this show works? I'm like, yeah, I've listened, but I mean, is there secrets? Do you know secrets? Is there secrets to how this works?
Yeah, that's a good point. This is pretty standard stuff.
But also a bunch of secrets.
Yeah, there are a few
Oh,
secrets.
man.
and we
That
won't
you'll just
tell
have to
those
navigate as we get to them. So that'll be fun.
We've set a few booby traps.
A few little booby traps for me.
to you. What other media you've been doing? Obviously, you're doing Do Go On. This is one of the big gets that people want to do on the circuit.
To me, because I'm a nerdy boy. I'm a nerdy boy, and I love comedy, but I also just love like interesting stuff. I love
What a nerd.
Yeah, I love things that are quite interesting.
Loser.
And so for me, this is a get because it's like, I get to be a little bit funny, but then I get to just talk. Well, interrupted. I was about to say uninterrupted, but the whole thing was interrupted.
We'll interrupt the shit out of you.
I get to talk interrupted about a topic of my choice for an hour plus.
Yes.
And that is for a nerdy boy with a big ego. This is the get.
You haven't been able to do that when you've been interviewed by newspapers.
No, not as much. It's a lot of.
What's happening with journalism these days?
It's a lot of. So we met at acting school, and Broden, Mark, me, but we were always drawn to the funny characters, and we thought, well, heck, why don't we do that? And there's a major comedy festival in Melbourne, and we just thought, let's have a go. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, please get me on something where I don't have to do that, unless as a bit I decide to do that, like I just did.
Yeah.
Can we
Over to
explain what you're on the plugging circuit for? You've got a new Netflix. It's a comedy show, which is something you've been drawn to.
Not quite as interesting as I had hoped. I said to the group, we pitched to Netflix a 6-part sketch show, and they said yes. And then I was like, well, I have you. Would you consider, a 26-part panel show of British people hosted by Stephen Fry? where maybe I'm the cheeky boy and it says cheeky things and the interesting facts are said, and they said, well, that already exists.
Oh.
And I said, oh, yeah, quite interesting, QI. And they were like, no, there's 50 of those shows. There's already 50. That is one of them. So no, I have a 6-part Netflix comedy special. People are saying special. It's a series with my comedy group, Aunty Donna, which is the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm very nervous and very excited, and that's what I'm here to promote.
And it comes out today. It comes out very same day as this podcast.
And it's worldwide.
Similar to this
too,
podcast.
because
Did you know that? We've got
a lot
worldwide
of
release on this.
But do you see a lot of people when you announced it were like, is it only on the Australian Netflix? And you had to reply a lot of times, no. You can get on all the Netflix. It's made by Netflix.
We've done things in the past that are geo-blocked, and that is a pain. The occasional nut, you can see it anywhere, is a lot easier than, no, you can't see it right now in your country, but we are working on it. Go, watch this space. Consider a VPN. I didn't say that. So, yeah, it is worldwide. It's very exciting. What time does this podcast go out?
Comes out 11 a.m. Melbourne time.
11 a.m. Melbourne time, which I don't know what that is Pacific time, but our show is coming out 12:01 Pacific time today.
Okay.
Right.
So in about 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I reckon just jump onto your Netflix. It'll probably tell you.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true.
They often do that.
That's true.
So if it's not there yet, it's not available, just check in.
But here's what you can do. You can go to it. You can type in Aunty Donna's Big Old House of Fun. This is only relevant for 7 hours. So if you're listening to this podcast a day after it's gone up, this is no longer relevant. But you can type that in. You can say, remind me, and it'll let you know. It'll put it on your my list.
Yeah.
And if you're
very
listening
excited.
to this, in a year or so's time, you can do that for season 2.
Well, or season 1, which will just sit there as a constant reminder of the fact that we were too weird for the English-speaking world.
But you're big in Spain.
Oh,
We're big in Spain. We're big in Spain. Absolutely. Yeah. Very funny.
It's so exciting though.
I can't
So
wait.
exciting.
It's one of those things where you know how you know this, and you joke, Matt, but like you did your tour of the UK and like people came.
Yeah, surprisingly to
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
And it's one of those things. I think sometimes you just go along your journey as a comedian or as a performer, and you do your thing, and then one more person, and there's an audience, and you don't really realize. And it's always funny the moments where you go, oh wow, this is big. And I remember it was actually when the marketing department at Netflix we'd made the show. I'd met like childhood idols like Weird Al Yankovic does a cameo.
Man,
It's wild, yeah.
so cool.
Like Scott Aukerman was an EP. Like this is like crazy. Kristen Schaal does a voiceover, and I was
Yeah.
there in the voiceover studio. I was like,
Oh, the best voice there is.
yeah. And so it's just this really, really like strange experience. But for the most part, I was just stressed about remembering my lines the whole time. And then it wasn't until they sent the Netflix marketing department sent the first edit of the trailer, and also just like the pictures for like the top of our Facebook and billboards if they were to make them. And it was that email that I freaked out. Like, it was like 2 years after I'd known I had this, I saw this email. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no. They've called me Zach, not Zachary.
Oh, no.
It's ruined.
It's Ruane.
It's ruined.
Oh, that is why they call Matt. I don't know if you know this. He's known as the pun king
Yeah.
on this show.
No, that's a pun. No one's been able to explain what a pun is to me properly.
Ruane.
Do you know? You know as a Netflix comedian.
Oh God.
Dave always just says it's a play on words.
Yeah.
But I don't.
play on words. I think is it? There's got to be double meaning in there. That's
Right.
surely part of the definition.
Yeah.
Surely it's using one word in a different context. Are there
Right.
puns that don't do that?
We don't know, Zach.
We're not that advanced.
We
If only
don't
there
know.
was some massive conglomerate that created a thing where you could just type in pun definition.
Zach, you're acting crazy.
Well, I mean,
Stop
are you
it.
pitching a new show?
Yeah, I think it's a show. I don't know. It's something. All I've got in my head is order the internet, make it ordered, and then take control of the entire world with glasses. Those are the thoughts I've got.
Okay.
I can't believe they never came off
The
Google goggles.
glasses.
Oh, the Google goggles would have been way
Google
better.
goggles.
That's
Imagine-
why they didn't come off, I reckon.
Imagine going for a swim. Should we acknowledge the fact
Is that a child or a cat?
It sounds like a goat to me.
It's something.
there is either a child, a cat, or a goat outside wailing?
Which almost definitely will not be picked up by these microphones.
No,
It'll
but
just sound a little
if
nuts,
we sound thrown off by someone pleading for their life, it's either a cat, a goat, or a child.
None of us have checked, but we
We're not-
assume they're pleading for their
We're
life.
back in the same room as well
I
for the
know.
first time. We're in the Aunty Donna office. We're in the inner sanctum here.
Is this where you used to record?
We recorded a few early episodes when Brode and Kelly from Aunty Donna
Brode and Kelly?
recorded, and the Elvis episode with Nick Mason we recorded in this room
That's
as well.
true, yeah.
This was before it was the Aunty Donna office.
Yeah, we so we're in Stupid Old Studios with you guys, and we kind of like took the common room. We were
Yeah.
like, we don't have enough space. We'll take the common room, please. And I think there was some controversy around that, some mumblings around the office.
Yeah. Mostly from me. I was starting rumors. Yeah.
I do you know I have a funny story about your podcast because and it's about the fact that we share an office. Because I remember I have a friend who's really, really into podcasts. I imagine he's probably listening. I haven't talked to him in years. And I remember the moment I realized you guys were really taking off was when he came to me. I used to work at a cinema and he was working at the cinema as well. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, just so you know, one of the podcasts I listen to often complain about how loudly you rehearse. Often apologise for you loudly rehearsing in the room next door." I was like, wow, these guys are doing all right.
That was your reaction. It was good for them. Good for them. That's great.
I also, because I've gotten into podcasts since, but at the time I wasn't crazy into podcasts because he also was a big fan of Daily Planet and Nick Mason, and I remember I walked up to Nick and I was like, "Hey, I have a friend who really likes your podcast." And it was just like, you know, when you know from someone's reaction, it's like, oh, he's one of many, many people, and I am an asshole.
Hey, good job, little bud.
Yeah, it was that. It was so that. And he was like, oh, thank
you.
you. Thank you. And she's like, oh, you're very successful, and I didn't know that.
Not successful enough for you to know the real name of his podcast, admittedly.
Because I don't know why I just called it the Daily Planet. That's so embarrassing.
Well, is that a pun? No.
That's just someone that has Superman on their mind.
Oh, yep.
Why is it's completely escaping me?
It's the Weekly Planet.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's why
you're in the right. I mean, that's why I'm wondering, is Weekly Planet a pun on the Daily Planet?
Well, it's a reference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Weekly Planet is playing off Daily Planet.
That's not
surely.
that isn't a pun.
Maybe that's an homage.
Right.
It's a like out of necessity, maybe.
Okay.
But like if the host was named Kaylee and they called the show the Kaylee Planet, you'd be like,
Right.
that's a pun.
Okay, because
Is
there's
it?
a double meaning.
Oh my god.
I'm
that it?
really, really tempted to just Google.
I know, we've never done that
pun,
before.
But I worry that I'm going to get in the way of like your banter. You know, I'm just
No,
going to stop.
we could end this right now.
Yeah, but then what are you going to do for content?
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of our bits is not knowing what a pun is, Matt. We've only got two bits. The other one is not knowing what scat and scar, the difference between scat and scar.
Oh, I know the difference.
Oh, right.
We're Googling
You know,
it.
scat also in America also means poo.
What?
Oh, this is. Do you want to know the meaning for pun, or do you want me to hold it?
I want to know.
myself?
I want to know.
Who wants to just have a guess? Who wants to just have a guess of the definition?
I can't.
It feels like you said the double meaning. I love that. I think that's in there. Maybe a play on words with a double meaning. Maybe put those two things together You're covering more bases.
Is puntastic a pun?
Yes.
Or is that a portmanteau?
Oh, that's great.
not a
I've
portmanteau.
got exciting news for you. I've got portmanteau in my report.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you said it because I wasn't 100% on the pronunciation.
Me either, to be fair. So there could be people listening like, oh, that was painful to hear. What is a pun?
A pun is a joke exploiting the different possible meanings of a word or the fact that there are words which sound alike but have different meanings.
Okay.
And a Zack is someone that takes all the fun out of puns.
So he ruins it.
He ruins
I
it.
ruin everything, which is a pun because I'm exploiting the fact that these two words sound alike but have different meanings.
Yes.
The best part about that is this time next week, we will have forgotten that. And we'll be back here. And you won't be here, sadly,
Yeah.
to explain it. So we'll have no idea.
And it still doesn't that doesn't compute in my head.
No.
Like where an example will come up and I'll be like, still don't know if it is or not. But now I've got some criteria I can sort of tick off.
That's it.
Which
That's
I've
exactly it.
basically forgotten, but still, at one point I heard the words.
So that's pretty
something.
promising.
Yeah. This is the longest intro we've done in so long.
I'm a fiend for a long intro. I have a side project which I'm not here to promote. I'm here to promote the Netflix show.
Okay, all right. But if you were to mention your side project,
I'm gonna beep it
just
out.
say,
Yeah, just beep it out. I have a podcast with my friend Mish Wittrup. It's called Mission Zack's Leguizamo Rama, where we watch, much like your Patreon exclusive, where you watch every film starring Ben Fraser. Ben Fraser?
Brendan Fraser.
This is bad. Brendan Fraser. I watch every movie starring the character actor John Leguizamo. And boy, are our intros long. Too long. Too long.
Surely Leguizamo Rama is a pun.
Yes, I believe so.
That's got to be a pun.
And that's our new game, is thinking of if we were to do other podcasts about famous actors. And my personal favourite is Michael Shenanza.
Oh.
That's all. That's all I've got.
What? Wait, so how is Leguizamo Rama a pun? What's the
don't know.
double meaning of Leguizamo?
Don't
The
know.
Leguizamo, and then also no, maybe it's not.
Maybe
a
it's
pun.
not-
Well, see,
pun.
this is what I mean. It's fucking confusing.
but diorama rama?
Diorama Rama.
That's the thing on The Simpsons where they have their diorama day.
Anyway.
Oh no.
Anyway.
So talk about one of your EPs, Scott Ockerman. I listen to his podcast, and that shows all intro. You know, that's sort of a joke. It's we talk exclusively about whatever band they're talking about, and they don't mention them for an hour and a half.
I'm really big into one pot pastas at the moment, just because, you know, it's less dishes and that sort of thing. And I can't express to you, I think Leguizamo Rama is more one pot pasta talk than it is Leguizamo talk. and our fans are like playing along. They're like, oh, ha, ha. And I'm like, but I think deep down they just want us to get to the point.
Yeah. They're humouring you.
Yes. It's like, oh, I can be in on the joke. It's like, you can also just tell us to stop. There's
Yeah.
only 4 of you. Just shoot us a DM. Let us know what you need from us.
Well, maybe we should get on with it now. So the way this show works for new listeners is one of the 4 of us, in this case it's Zack, will go away and research a topic. We'll learn all we can about it, and we'll write up a report, and then we'll bring it back to the others, and then we'll tell them, and then they'll listen politely, pretty much uninterrupted for an hour or so.
Yeah.
This week, Zack's done the report.
Yeah.
He's here to learn us about a certain topic. We don't know what the topic is. We get onto the topic with a question. What is this week's question, Zack?
Oh, well, that's a great question. My question is, name a company that through their history and expertise really shouldn't be messing up the opening of a new venture. This is based on one of your earlier episodes.
That's
and
a
the-
fantastic question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is I should also use this opportunity to say that thoughtful, considered, well-written question took me maybe 20 minutes to come up with.
Yep.
I had about 4 hours to do the report. So start doing some maths and get excited for the second half of this podcast.
But I mean, we can all admit that was a fantastic
A great
question.
question.
Oh, yeah, it was so good. It kind of lost me halfway through a little bit.
Well, just remember that question when I'm hitting the dot points. That's all I'm saying.
So it's based on an old episode. So maybe an old episode about a company that we've done.
Well, yes. So it's a specific. The topic I have chosen is a specific moment in time or a specific venture of a company.
Right.
Now, I have accidentally, through conversation, given this away to most of the people here today.
That's right.
So largely, Matt, this is on you to get.
Yes.
You did say the topic out loud when you were finishing the report whilst I was driving you here. You just said the key word and then went, oh no.
There are details beyond that I don't think I've given away.
I'm trying to think of parts. So we've done Lego. We've done. Stop me when I'm getting.
I'll say it again.
McDonald's.
So name a company that through their history, really shouldn't be messing up the opening of a new venture, because maybe this company, who is very successful, very well known for many things, but one of the things they do, have failed in the opening of their ventures in the past.
Oh, okay.
This is harking back to a Matt Stewart classic.
Oh,
Very early one.
mine.
The first do go on I Ever Listened To.
Oh, we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
I reckon, and you're a big fan of theme parks. It's Disneyland.
It is a Disney
done,
theme park.
Matty. Good
There you
job.
go.
That was great.
I would never
Yeah,
have
you're
got
the
that.
biggest theme park lover I know.
I'm a bit of like all men, I've taken something I enjoy and I've turned it into facts that I can say to people until they hate me. I do. I love theme parks. I really love theme parks. And it was one of those great moments where I realized that how good your podcast is, because you then can have lots of, like, any freak you meet, any nerd you meet, you can be like, oh yeah, I know a little bit about your thing because I did an episode about it once and we had a moment. So you talked many years ago about the opening of Disneyland.
Yes.
And today I'm going to be talking. Can I say now?
Yeah,
or do I
you
have
can,
to
of
keep
course,
hinting?
yes.
Oh, thank God.
The mystery remains for the entire episode. The listeners never find out.
I'm going to be talking about largely the opening, but also just a bit of the history of Disney California Adventure,
Oh.
which is the theme park directly across from Disneyland
Oh, wow. This is a sequel.
Yeah.
that opened in 2001.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
No, you probably haven't.
Oh, okay.
Unless you've been there. And then
Well-
we're like, what's that? And someone says, that's the other park.
Sadly,
"Oh."
Jess and I both visited in 1998
Yeah.
on separate family trips, so we missed
close.
it by a
Just
few
missed out.
years.
Wow. That was a car park then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We probably used it.
We stayed in a motel opposite Disneyland, and there was an IHOP that shared a car park with our motel.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
The
a good trip.
What a cultured trip that was.
Yeah.
I need to say, though, I am such a freak with the, like such a nerd with theme parks, that everything you've said, there's been about 12 facts per sentence that I want to go and say. So you need to just stop me. You need to keep me on track. Should I just jump in?
Yeah.
Should I? All right,
Do
here we
it.
Sounds
go. All right. Disney California Adventure, or DCA for short, or Disney California Adventure Park for long, is one of the 12 Disney theme parks around the world, and was the second part built at the Disneyland Resort, the site of the original Disneyland Park in Anaheim. Opened in February of 2001 in an area that originally housed the Disneyland car park. The 72-acre park is themed after the history and culture of the state of California. Located in California and an hour's drive from tourist attractions like Hollywood and Santa Monica Pier, the park has a number of different California-themed lands, evoking iconic locations like Hollywood and the Santa Monica Pier.
When you can go to the real one in less than an hour.
Literally an hour. It's a very special place.
That is, because like when you go to like Las Vegas and they have like, you know, the Venetian, which is the Venice themed. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a big trip.
It's a phenomenal place. They've since like plussed it up, which I'll talk to a little bit, but yeah, it's literally like a Las Vegas themed casino in Las Vegas. DCA for some reason was not a success when it first opened, and today we're going to investigate why.
Ooh.
That's fun.
It's great.
Yeah, so this is after Walt had passed on. So it's
Yeah.
sort of like, Apple products since the
Yeah,
Apple Bill
Yeah,
Gates.
this
whatever his
is
name
literally
God.
the iPad
Yeah.
of theme parks. It's just like, oh, I don't think that's what he wanted.
Are we sure? Did he write anything down specifically? Okay, yeah, great.
It's pretty close, I guess. Before we launch into the story, I think some context and key terms might help. A lot of people think that Disney theme parks around the world are directly themed to the brand of Disney in the way that Warner Brothers Movie World on the Gold Coast or Universal Studios is. While this is largely true now, that wasn't always the case. The first Disneyland in Anaheim, as you would know if you've listened to Matt's episode, was more the singular vision of Walt Disney himself. He did use various characters and films for ride themes and meet and greets, but the majority of the park was its own experience, taking you to the future in Tomorrowland, the Wild West in Frontierland, or a vague Orientalist blend of Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East in Adventureland. The idea was that a lot of people have of a bunch of theme parks with a castle in the middle and then a lot of Disney princesses and rides is only half the story. For example, Walt Disney World in Florida has 4 theme parks on its property, all with different themes and layouts.
Oh.
This is... I'm holding back here.
Wait, so which one was that? That was the Florida
one,
So
yeah.
that's
the
Disney,
Florida.
Disney World, is it?
Yes.
Or Orlando. Oh, no, there's an Orlando one as well, isn't there?
So no, Orlando, Florida, and this is where I always come unstuck, and this is really where I came unstuck. I was like, as I was writing this report, I was sort of hit for about an hour of like, I need to remember, I'm a big nerd about this stuff, that the people listening are going to ask that very question of what's the difference between Disneyland and Disney World? That's where I've got to start from.
Right, that's always confused me. And
Yes.
yeah, I do remember that Orlando's one, California's the classic one,
Yeah.
which
So-
is like outside of LA somewhere.
It's about an hour out of LA is Disneyland.
Yeah.
Right, that's Anaheim.
And that's in Anaheim,
Yeah.
an hour out of California. And that's near the studio. That's how you think of it. And then basically what happened was everyone was like, we need one on the East Coast. We need one on the East Coast. So they made Walt Disney World
Right.
on the East Coast. And the way to remember that is it's bigger. World is bigger than land. Also, when Walt Disney died, they named it Walt Disney World as opposed to Disneyland.
Oh,
So
okay.
Walt World. Yeah.
Yeah, right, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Also, you can just not be a nerd.
Well, that's an interesting option. One we will not be
No, thank you.
using.
We decline.
The parks are created, designed, and constructed by Walt Disney Imagineering, which is the research and development arm of the Walt Disney Company. Yeah, I told you I go deep. Originally known as WED Enterprise from the initials Walter Elias Disney, the arm was renamed to reflect the employees, who were originally known as Imagineers, a portmanteau of engineer and imagination.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I like that.
But before that, it was known as Wet Industries.
Yeah.
WED.
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 Oh, weird.
But
Right, I also heard Wet, and I was thinking that it sounded like a porn.
yeah.
I can't imagine a group of engineers that design Snow White rides is the sort of pornography I want to watch.
No, thank you.
Well, everyone's got their niche, Zach. So
Imagineers is a great job title.
Isn't it?
I'd love
It's
to drop
sort
that
of-
at a dinner party.
yeah, I'm not sure if it's awesome or awful. It's
a bit of both,
It's
yeah.
somewhere in the middle there.
The problem, I think, is that because anyone that works there is an Imagineer. So there are Imagineers. So it sounds so whimsical. When I
Yeah.
hear Imagineer, I imagine someone who just designs these, but the people in charge of land acquisition are Imagineers. Like, the
Okay,
people
yeah.
in charge of crowd control.
Yeah, it's less fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I remember I met an Imagineer once. I was like, oh my God. Oh, this is the coolest thing ever. And yeah, I think he was like in finance or something.
Yeah.
I was like,
He's in sanitation. You're like, look, that is important, but it's less fun.
It sounds mystical and magical, but you need to remember half of the word is engineer. So.
Yes, that's a good point, yeah.
This is overseen by a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, Disney Parks Experience and Products, Inc., formerly known as Walt Disney Parks and Resorts Worldwide. Now, the reason why that's relevant is they are the suits.
Yep.
The Imagineers, wonderful, beautiful, blue sky. Those guys, nah, boo.
Take down the suit, Zach.
Yeah, boo. Boo. Okay. So, where does the story of DCA begin? If you're an effective storyteller that is able to conduce stories down for a first-time listener, probably around the mid-90s. But if you're a big nerd like me, then the story begins on December 15, 1966. The day...
Do you know 1966, that's the year that my football team, the Saints, won their one and only premiership.
I'm so sorry about
There you
this.
go.
Sorry you have
Zach,
to know
sorry
about
about
this.
that.
Are you seriously apologising to a man who's making you listen to facts about Imagineers? This is my payback. I grew up in a rural town, so I heard a lot about football, and I had to smile politely and nod.
All you wanted to do was talk about magical lands.
That's it. This is now I make people listen to me talk about the same level of boring.
We did a bonus episode recently where Jess told us about a smaller theme park in New Jersey called Adventureland. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah, Adventurelands. That's the one. Is that
Action
the one
Park?
that
It's called-
Action Park?
Oh, what did I say?
Adventureland.
What the fuck is that?
There is. Well, I just
Action
said
Park.
Adventureland. It's a part of Disneyland.
Oh, that's what I've
Zach's
done.
like, yeah, I know Adventureland.
But no, Action Park is
Yeah.
amazing. It's a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
Just the
Yes.
complete lack of
Anything.
anything. People
Yeah.
died in Action
Oh,
Land,
yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah.
Because they didn't have Imagineers.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was their downfall.
They
also
had a lot of imagination.
Yeah.
Not
a
enough
lot
on
of
the Imagineering.
Teenagers in high up roles.
Yeah, drunk teenagers.
Drunk
in
teenagers in management positions.
Didn't sound like they
far
consulted a single engineer, actually.
No, they didn't. No.
It's when you're a big Disney nerd or like theme park nerd specifically, you end up watching a lot of videos that are like this, where they're basically like, and then they designed the ride, which was lots of fun, and then it does this turn, and it's like, but then someone died on the ride.
And you're watching it like, oh.
I got into this because it brings me joy, and here I am watching a video about someone being crushed.
Yeah,
This is very sad.
It's not great.
Where was I?
December 1966.
And that date, can anyone guess what happened on that date?
That's when Disneyland opened.
No, that was 55.
Did they,
55, wow.
did they buy the land for the car park or something like that?
No, they already had the land to the car park. Well, I'll tell you exactly what I just criticised. That was the date that American entrepreneur, visionary and union buster Walt Disney passed away at the age of 65.
Oh,
He died in
yes.
66. Wow.
Yeah, he died not long after. He was planning Walt Disney World, which I would say is a very good episode. The original Epcot is a very good episode for you guys. He was planning it, but then he passed away.
Right.
Yeah. I also mentioned Union Buster as a bit of a gag. He had some bad parts. So,
When you said, what's Epcot?
so Epcot is, and this is the problem here, and this is why this podcast is going to go for 5 hours, and I'm so sorry. Epcot is, it currently is the second park at Walt Disney World. So there's 4 theme parks there. But originally what it was going to be was he wanted to build an entire city with people that lived there, people that worked there, and it was going to be like a model city, like the idea that you would come, look at the city and see the potential for what humanity could be. And then he passed away, and apparently that day someone came into the office of his brother and said, so what are we doing about Epcot? And his brother said, mate, Walt's dead. We're making a theme park. we're doing a theme park. Like it was a great idea. It was a really cool idea,
What
but
does
it
it
was
stand
only he
for?
could do it.
Epcot.
Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
yeah, good job.
And
Thank
it's,
you.
it's the one that
nice.
has the thing that looks like the giant golf ball, right?
So now it does, yeah. So in the 80s, they were like, all right, let's have a crack at Epcot. But the problem is with someone like Walt Disney, you've got to remember, like, when he made an animated film, no one except for some randoms in Europe had made a feature-length animated film. When he made a theme park, theme parks didn't exist.
Yeah.
He had ideas and he pushed into new, like he was a visionary.
He was
Yeah.
the true Imagineer.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
The true Imagineer. He was a Steve Jobs. He was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs. Thank you.
We're doing well today, aren't we?
or as Matt knows him, the Apple Bill Gates guy.
The Apple Bill Gates guy. But he had the vision, and it basically was just one of those things where he was always pushing what Disney was. When he wanted to do a theme park, everyone was like, we're an animation company. And now you couldn't imagine a Disney that doesn't do theme parks.
Yeah.
So if he had stayed around for another 10 years, who knows? Maybe Disney would be, when we think of Disney, we would think of cartoons, theme parks, and futuristic cities. Maybe. But we never know. And I think it was probably smart of them to not.
Until they thaw him out.
Yeah. And he don't
Well, actually,
know.
that's not true.
I'm so glad you did it. I was going to have to otherwise, just to save the tweets. Actually, that's actually a myth.
Any final joy you have around this concept, I'm going to throw some facts at you. So like Apple, after it, the company fell into the trap that many do after the death of their visionary leaders, a combination of nepotism and inertia. After a decade of little innovation and forward thinking, the Walt Disney Company was in trouble. After a corporate takeover attempt in the early 80s that would have absolutely decimated the company, shareholders Sid Bass and Roy E. Disney, so Disney's brother, brought in Michael Eisner as CEO and chairman and former Warner Brothers chief Frank Wells as president to replace Ron W. Miller in 1984 and strengthen the company. Eisner was exactly what the company needed. A former executive at Paramount, he had vision and drive and would engage creatively in a way CEOs hadn't in years. As a little side thing, they got trapped in, there was a phrase that they would say in the offices, which was, what would Walt do? And they got trapped by that. They became completely trapped by this idea of what would Walt do. Because what happened was they would go, what would Walt do? And what they landed on was things he had done in the 40s, 30s, 50s.
Yeah.
And what Walt would have done was always push forward,
Right, but they were
always
like,
change.
let's make Cinderella again.
Yeah.
No, we've done that 9 times.
Cinderella
We've already done that.
2.
What Walt would do now is do a corporate takeover. It's become a multinational conglomerate with no soul.
So they were doing what Walt did do, not what Walt would do.
Yeah.
That's very good. Yes. Yep.
Well said, Matt. Well said.
I'm really struggling with being the straight guy. Normally I'm the one that brings these down, but I'm like, no, back to the report. Go get back to that report. All right. So Eisner oversaw what was known as the Disney Renaissance or the Disney Decade. Our generation would know it for its films, The Little Mermaid, Lion King, Tarzan, Mulan, etc., etc. But he also drove a revitalization of the parks. The idea of stepping into the movies was introduced. Through deals with George Lucas, he pushed the creation of several iconic rides. He also introduced a third and eventually a fourth park to Walt Disney World and started plans on Euro Disney, an hour's drive from Paris. Under Eisner's tenure, through the addition of the 2 theme parks, another water park, multiple hotels, and a revitalised shopping and dining district known as Downtown Disney.
That's what I go to Disneyland for, the shopping.
Yeah.
I go
Know what
there.
I mean?
I go there for the food court.
Yeah.
I love
It's
hanging
the
out there.
best food court.
That's the best Chinese I've ever had.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Chats in the fashion capital can suck a fuck in my eyes. It's Disneyland or bust for me.
I can imagine it'd be pretty brutal visiting like the offices of Disney, the way they talk. Like some of these terms would just be so hard to be around it all the time.
Just
The Imagineers and everything's sort of fluffy and bullshit.
But also they're just making
Downtown
money.
Disney.
Yeah.
Downtown
Let's head to
Disney.
Downtown Disney for a lunch.
I have a suspicion, though, that sort of stuff is very like, it's either right at the end, someone puts it on in the marketing department, or it's right at the start, it's the Blue Sky Imagineers. I reckon the people in the parks and resorts are just like numbers, figures, spreadsheets, money, money, money.
Yeah.
I think people
Surely.
imagine it to be like, oh, a magical place of joy and wonder. And I reckon Bob Iger's just like, nah, make me more money, please. You guys need to make me more money, and you can do it however way you wish.
As long as there's more money.
If it's magical and whimsical, if that gets us 0.1% more, then sick. If not,
Yeah, but they don't have spreadsheets and calculate. They call them whimsic calculations.
they call everything is a portmanteau with imagination. So it's imagilators.
Imagineers, that's it. Yes.
Walt Disney World went from a 1 or 2 day expedition on your trip to Florida to a multi-day experience. Walt Disney World became the destination itself, with people spending their entire trip inside the gates. They even introduced Disney's Magical Express, a free bus service from Orlando Airport. So that was the thinking. It was like, let's turn this place into one.
Yeah. This is your holiday. It's not a day on your holiday. This is it.
You come here for many, 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 many days.
You give us many, many dollars. Then you go away.
They secede from the United States, form their own country. You get a passport.
Here's a fun little fact. They kind of not seceded, but they are their own city like council.
Wow.
So they literally
Councillors.
councillors. They have their own fire department, their own police department. They have people that live there who are on the payroll, and essentially it's its own county.
That's nuts.
Walt Disney World is its own, because it was going to be a city, because they were going to do that, and they've just held on to it. So
there's
it means
Disney police.
There's Disney police.
Do they have big gloves like Mickey Mouse hands? That's what I'm imagining.
Believe so. Look, I don't know, but I'm going to assume yes. I'm going to assume that they do, yes. And so it means as well that in Walt Disney World, they have Orlando Universal down the road.
Yeah.
Orlando Universal, if ever they build anything new, if ever they build anything tall, they have to check with the council. Disneyland can just do it because they are the council.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty full on.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird, and maybe capitalism had already gone too far by the 60s. It wasn't long before the top brass turned their attention to the original park, Disneyland in California. Research had shown that most attendees were only spending 1 day at the park. To most normal people, this is a reasonable amount of time to spend at a theme park. But to people like me and to Eisner & Co., this was millions of dollars that weren't being spent in accommodation, dining, and multi-day tickets. But there was a problem. The Walt Disney Company didn't own much land there. As it was Walt's first park, he underestimated the number of cheap motels, diners, convention centres, and IHOPs. That would pop up around the park.
What's an IHOP?
International House of Pancakes.
Oh, right. Oh, it doesn't sound like a pancake place. I assumed it was a clothing store.
No, it's for
some reason.
Well, I mean, I was 8, but I remember it's sort of like a diner kind of layout.
Right. I like pancakes.
Pancakes.
International House of Pancakes. So it's pretty fancy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when they changed? Maybe you don't. I think I was there at the time, but they changed their name from IHOP to IHOB for a promotional period, just because they started doing burgers. So their marketing team were like, let's just call it the International House of Burgers, and it was this fun little idea. They even changed the signage on a couple of stores and changed their Twitter handle. And then for the next 2 weeks, their poor social media team had to comment on every single tweet that was like, why aren't you doing pancakes anymore? It was just like tweet after tweet. We are still doing our pancakes that you know and love us for.
But we've decided just for a bit of fun.
This is just a fun marketing campaign to talk about our new range of burgers. Don't worry, we'll be back to IHOP soon enough. Just like, people are the worst. Hoping to cash in on the cool new concept. Unlike Walt Disney World, where the company had bought parcels of land approximately twice the size of Manhattan. So for context, that's why they have 4 theme parks. There's still just like huge chunks of land, and every other park is just big chunks of land because it's easier to just buy it straight away. Every inch of the land owned by the company was used by either Disneyland or the adjacent car park. And any attempts to buy property would immediately drive the price up because people would go, oh, Disney's buying. Clearly they need my IHOP too, so I'll just charge them heaps. The decision was made to build the new park on the site of that said car park. The next challenge, what to build. In 1991, they announced their plans for Westcot. An incredible vision. It was themed around a utopian vision of the future, similar to Epcot Center at Walt Disney World. And it was planned to be the first Disney theme park to contain hotels within the park. With various lands themed to different countries, each would feature a hotel. It would need a significant land purchases and would cost something in the range of $3 billion.
Wow.
Which is a lot of money, but for a company like Disney,
Yeah.
not
It's
so
like
much.
pocket change.
Or so we thought.
Ooh, drama.
Yeah, no, they just went into some money problems. Unfortunately, Eisner's successes in the late 80s were starting to crack, and the Disney Renaissance was starting to look a lot more like the Disney Dark Ages. Hey, guys, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
A number of high-profile failures, such as Euro Disney, and announcements and then retractions of such concepts as Port Disney and Disney's America, to name a few, meant that Disney was in big financial trouble.
Oh, was Euro Disney a failure?
Initially, yes. It was.
Right.
I was very close to talking about that because it was so similar in its failings to Disneyland.
Oh, right.
There's like a real synergy in that they finished it and it was beautiful. It was like perfect because they were like, well, far out. We're in Europe. You know, in America, a fake palace castle in the middle of your theme park is kind of cool, but you can see the real Notre Dame up the road.
Yeah.
So they went all in. They spent heaps of money. They made it really, really beautiful. And everyone in Europe was like, fuck you. They picked Paris. Like, they picked France.
Yeah.
Like, the French are not famously welcoming of American culture.
They're like, we're just going to take up a really big bit of your land.
Like, England would have been like, yeah, bring it in. We love it.
Yeah.
But, like, no, they were really mad. And even just down to, in terms of cultural imperialism, Euro Disney was a name devised by the Americans. Euro in Europe is just like finance. It's the euro. It's a financial
So it's
term.
like money world.
It's literally like calling your
down.
place Dollar Disney.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Come and
like-
spend your money and make us fat cats even richer.
Yeah, right.
So it just didn't work, and it's quite famously. It was really beautiful. It's starting to get run down. It's kind of famously the least impressive park after Hong Kong and DCA.
Oh,
Yeah.
bit of fun. I've been to the Paris one, but I don't remember thinking it was a bit shit. Maybe it's because I felt quite sick after going on Space Mountain, even though my tummy does not like rides.
Oh.
That's,
But I did
feel
it.
ya. I would love it. That's the biggest problem with becoming a nerd about something is like you would know with your football. You spend more time being mad at your team than you do just being like,
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
It's like, I love this. Why are you shutting that ride down?
Yeah.
And you got to kind of check yourself and be like, oh, we're talking about a pretend ride place.
I'm struggling to keep up with all the names. So DCA, which one's that again? That's what
This is the main one. This
Yeah,
is
that's what we're
Disney
talking about.
California Adventure.
Oh, that's right. So this is one across the road from the original Disney.
Yeah.
This is, in
Car park
theory, what
Disneyland.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DCA is Disney California Adventure, which
Right.
is what they're about to come up with.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's like car park land or something.
It's a place where you park your cars.
wow. Imagine that. Imagine.
Imagine.
What would have done?
Park his car.
Park his car.
He famously parked it so good.
He was a good parker. The budget of $3 billion was dropped down to $600 million,
Oof.
which sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
It's a big drop, and for context, the recent Star Wars themed land, Galaxy's Edge, which was just a land in Disneyland, cost over $1 billion.
Wow.
Because you've got to think it's like there's safety precautions, it's theming. So $600 million is like a very, very small amount for an entire park.
They did save a lot of money though by combining the imagination people and the engineers.
Yes.
So they sort of halved their workforce.
Yeah.
Right?
They got rid of half their engineers and half their imaginators.
It's a little tough because of COVID, because they have halved their workforce in the last few months. So,
Yeah, COVID would not be good for
Theme parks. No.
One of my favorite tweets, I wish I could credit this to someone. It's probably bad to quote a tweet you can't credit, but there was someone going, I used to watch the Jurassic Park films and think that's absolutely ludicrous. Why would you keep opening the parks with people dying? And then this happened. Because they've opened Walt Disney World. They're like, just try to stay away from each other on the rides.
Just spread out in the lines, okay?
I love the idea of people being like, I will not let the death of thousands get in the way of my going on Space Mountain. I love theme parks, but I'd like my Nana more. So,
that's actually starting to sound like you don't really love theme parks.
Yeah.
Oh no, is that the choice?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's theme parks or Nana.
Yeah, from Nana, hey.
Good choice.
Thank you so much.
Disagree.
Eisner scrapped the Westcot idea and took 30 of Disney's top executives for a 3-day retreat to Aspen, Colorado.
There's a lot of coke done at this retreat. So much coke.
I just love how shit that sounds. The idea of magic, wonder, 30 executives on a corporate retreat to Aspen, Colorado. At the end of that 3-day retreat, the idea of a California-themed park had been locked in.
The most magical of all the states.
How many ideas were on the whiteboard before they got to that?
Yeah, a lot.
I imagine a great deal.
We should have a Melbourne-themed theme park in Melbourne, though.
Great.
I think Luna Park is a little bit too broad.
Yeah,
You
I'd
know?
love to see a small Rialto.
Yes, and I'd love
The scale.
their food court would be like a laneway.
Oh,
you know what I
that's
mean?
Fun. That is fun.
Oh, that'd be fun.
It's literally instead of Sovereign Hill in Ballarat, so Sovereign Hill, because you've got international listeners, I should explain. Sovereign Hill is like a little outdoor museum that evokes the gold rush era of Ballarat, a city just out of Melbourne. It would be like Ballarat land in Ballarat, and just it's Ballarat now.
Yeah.
Come to Ballarat, see a smaller version of
Sturt
Ballarat. Sturt Street. There's many reports about the blue sky meetings that happen on that retreat, but the main reasoning that is given is that surveys found that tourists that came for one day were then spending many other days seeing attractions in California.
How dare they?
The thinking was to give them those attractions in one park.
Get fucked.
Such
How good
funny
is
logic.
it? It's the most corporate logic. It's we're gonna lock the Imagineers out and we're gonna make this decision. How good is it?
So good.
That's so funny.
keep-
So good.
They keep going on these one-day trips where they fly over the Grand Canyon. But what do we have? A smaller Grand Canyon.
Essentially, it's a hole.
Yeah, not that big, admittedly.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to Disneyland. In Disneyland from the 60s, they have a New Orleans Square. I don't know if you remember that from when you were 8, but you probably don't because you're not a nerd like me. But they have a New Orleans Square, and I remember thinking that was so funny when I was there. I was there for the first time. I thought, isn't that funny that in the 60s, the idea of a theme park is to take you to other places. And in the 60s, it was exciting to go, this is what's on the other side of America, because most people didn't go there. And I thought that was funny because I thought that would be like having a little Perth Square at Luna Park, you know?
Yeah.
That was funny to me. And I love that 30 years later, they thought, let's just do what you're in, but smaller.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's nuts.
It's literally the stupidest thing.
And I love it and I hate it.
It's you know when you get so far up your own ass as in business or whatever, you forget that not consumers are just like you. They think like you.
Yeah.
It's yes, the consumer will want this. It's do you want this?
Yeah.
No.
Would you go to that? God, no.
It was a good idea in theory, and Disney was pumped. On January 14, the Los Angeles Times published an article titled "The Most Jam-Packed Theme Park on Earth?" And here's the quote. Senior Disney officials acknowledged that there will be days when California Adventure will have to turn patrons away, particularly in the first weeks after the park opens. Obviously, they had learnt their lessons from opening day of Disneyland, where it was so swamped. They had. I'm assuming you remember this report you did 5 years ago.
I know. I remember it pretty well. I mean, I forgot that it was 55. Not 66, but
wow, it's a shame.
But part of the problem was that people
they
printed their own tickets.
Printed their own tickets.
That's right.
Forged tickets. It was so hot that the roads hadn't set properly and they melted and people's feet were sinking into the footpaths.
They didn't have enough toilets
yet. They had
yet.
to paint the grass green in certain areas.
There's just like apparently Tomorrowland was just like an exhibition for Monsanto. That's
wow.
It's
they did have weeds that were growing. They put little fences around and put Latin names to make it look like they were there on purpose.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
There's a ride now in Disneyland that's it's a mountain. It's a fake mountain. It's called the Matterhorn bobsleds. And before it was just a hill. And they were like, it's a hill. And that hill was just what they dug up to make a pond next to it. They were just like,
This is what we got from Grand Canyon.
So because of that, every opening since is famous that they've overestimated. They thought Paris Disneyland, they were like, stay back, don't come. Star Wars Land, they locked out like pass holders. They were like, don't come, it's going to be busy. And now every single opening in Disney's history since then has been, there's only like 5 people here. So,
Zach, are you one of those 5 people?
No, do you know? No. I'm a big nerd for this stuff, but I like to wait until it's settled. And also, I like the magic of going to these places. So I used to think, if I ever lived in LA, I would go every weekend. And then I did. I lived there for like 6 months for the Netflix show. Available now on Netflix.
Or possibly in 7 hours.
Haven't we been talking for about 7 hours, I think? So
I'll get to it. But I went for 3 days. Michael Eisner's dream was achieved. I went for 3 days. I went on on a work trip, funnily enough. That's a whole other story. But I didn't go lots and lots and lots because then it becomes like a shopping mall. Then it loses its magic, So I actually don't go that regularly.
It's like... was it The Simpsons that had like it's New Year's Eve every 10 minutes or something?
Yeah, every 15 minutes.
So it loses its specialness if you do it that often.
That's probably based on Disney Springs. Disney Springs or Downtown Disney, whatever it was called then, did New Year's Eve every night under the Eisner era.
Oh my God. So and the guy's like, I wish I was dead.
Executives and Imagineers were so confident of DCA's success that they even had plans to add a new drop tower attraction to Disneyland because they were worried that too many guests would be spending all their time at Disney California.
Oh, right. You got to pimp up Disneyland a bit.
They were they were already making plans.
Oh, that's
It's going to take away from Disneyland.
We're actually going to ruin our other business, so...
No, you've ruined both because now where the fuck do people park?
Yeah, did they think of that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's something they didn't really consider. We're going to be packed out, but people will walk from now on.
We have built over the entire car park. Yeah.
No, they've got a bus directly from Orlando Airport.
It's across America.
You have to go park at the airport.
It is very funny now. Like the car parks there are too far away. Like you have to walk a long way. It's like I'm quite tired now by the time I get there. Hey, and good news, guys, we're getting into rough dot point territory now. Yeah. So the park opened in early 2001, and let me talk you through some of what it was. The park's entrance was a 3-dimensional representation of a picture postcard of California. California. You walk past giant letters spelling California alongside a large ceramic mural representing California stuff. You walked under a dodgy fake Golden Gate Bridge before revealing a large, tacky golden statue representing the sun. Walt Disney Imagineer...
One of California's
Greatest
biggest landmarks.
features.
Some people love the sun.
Are they the Sunshine State or something?
I believe they are, and it is very sunny. The issue with a big statue of the sun is there is also the real sun when you're in a theme park. So, that's kind of the thing.
We can get that for free, just down the road.
Walt Disney Imagineer Kevin Rafferty described it as something that, frankly, you could have seen that at a shopping mall in Newport Beach. It's like, why is that here? They were very bitter.
Ooh.
That's great.
The park was not successful for a number of reasons, and a lot of people have analysed why since. I've just made a little list of them. I didn't want to do the whole thing because I was getting a little over zealous. The California theme, obviously. Mm-hmm. On opening day of Disneyland, Walt read an opening dedication that featured the words, "Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savour the challenge and promise of the future." The vision for these parks was to literally transport guests to different times and places, and this park was recreating things down the road. On top of this, a significant proportion of guests are locals and pass holders. Unlike Walt Disney World, Disneyland was and still is largely a local park. So just for context, I'll come back to when I lived in LA. I was living in Hollywood. I was living around the corner from the Chinese theatre, from like Hollywood Boulevard. And you stress sometimes. You're living there. That's where you buy your groceries. I then went to Disneyland as like a weekend away escape, and they have a recreation of Hollywood Boulevard.
They have your supermarket there.
I was like, why is there not a
Same people working there? It's very confusing.
It's literally insane. The other reason is 9/11. That stopped international travel. It got in the way.
Same year.
Yeah.
So what month was it opening?
It opened in February.
Yeah, okay, yep.
So they had a little run.
They had a little
in a
run.
pre-9/11 world.
And then
everything changed.
And then everything changed. International travel went out the window. Domestic travel went out the window. It was at the time one of the 3 times Disneyland had closed. It was immediately after 9/11. They were like, this might be a target. Let's shut it down, work it out.
Wow.
So it shut for, I think, 2 days after that, which at the time I think it had shut down then when JFK died, and there was one other, like after an earthquake. And now it's been closed for like 6 months.
Yeah, wow.
But at the time, that was one of the few reasons it had shut down. Number 3 is a lack of a berm. Now, according to wdwinfo.com, the berm is a dirt wall that surrounds many Disney parks, particularly castle parks such as the Magic Kingdom or Disneyland, with the goal of visually separating the outside world from the one of fantasy and adventure within. This is seemingly very niche, but when there's literally a suburb and IHOPs just outside, it's actually subconsciously very important. On multiple attractions at Disney California Adventure, nearby hotels, power lines, radio towers, and the Anaheim Convention Center are all visible to guests, reducing the sense of immersion. The other reason is just like the lack of Disney magic. There's an ad that you can watch for when it opened, and it's Woody and Buzz looking at Disney California Adventure, and the princess, they're like, what is this new place? And in it, they're saying, are there rides? They're like, yeah. And then in it, the princesses say, are there princes? And they go, no. Stop. No, it's weird. Number 5.
Who scripted that?
No.
No, he goes, no, but there is a big grizzly bear. It's like, well, that's not as good as a
Something
prince.
for everyone.
Number 5, the head of the parks, Paul Pressler, who by all accounts was a corporate stooge, relied on merchandising and retail staff instead of Imagineers to design the bulk of the park. This led to the park having a serious lack of rides compared to retail experiences, and a lot of the rides that were there were off the shelf. Some of the attractions were soaring over California. That was the one unquestionable hit of the park. It's a motion flight simulator that employs a mechanical lift system, a projection, artificial sense and wind to simulate hang gliding over the best sights of California, which is a thrilling experience. Superstar Limo, which is a slow limo drive through Los Angeles. Yes.
You could just get a little limo ride.
The best part is of that, I'll actually...
That's great.
This is the best one because the line was a recreation of LAX. So the idea of the story is you land in LAX and then you go on a...
Oh my God. Because on The Simpsons, they parody theme parks and they have the line simulator. That is basically what they're doing there.
Literally. It's
the airport line simulator.
LAX, for anyone who's been there, is the worst airport in the world. The idea that in a theme park, they're recreating the worst theme park in the world, the worst place, the airport in the world. And then what happens then is you then get into a limo and ride around and there's like celebrity audio animatronics of such early 2000s celebrities as Drew Carey, Whoopi Goldberg, the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And originally it was going to be...
Eddie McGuire.
Eddie McGuire. Eddie McGuire. Imagine that. That's great. And he's just saying some crook shit.
Yeah.
And originally it was going to be like a high-speed thing to get to a premiere, but they were designing the ride in 1998. They were pretty close to finishing High-Speed Limousine, 1998.
Yep.
Princess Diana.
Yep.
Died in a crash.
Yes.
From that. So then their alternative, rather than scrapping the ride, was to just make it a slow ride.
That's what I do remember when in 97 when Diana died, everything changed.
Everything changed.
Everything changed.
This is the two biggest moments. I love that the two biggest, most traumatic moments in sort of that period in history negatively affected a theme park in California.
Yeah.
And that's like why, that's the context I'm giving it. And my personal favourite, the sourdough tour.
Oh my God. What?
I was just going to throw that. Would you like to hear about the sourdough tour? So it was a tour where they talk to you about the sourdough and how they make sourdough and the history of sourdough. And then at the end, you could have some sourdough.
This is not what I picture a Disney park to be like.
No, you could argue that it's a bit shit. The best part is it's, I think Colin Mockery or it was someone from that show, from the improv.
Whose Line?
Whose Line? Yep. And Rosie O'Donnell, I believe. Just video of them going, come on, let's teach you about sourdough, cracking jokes.
I mean, it sounds like it could be all right, but it's not a Disney ride.
No, and also it's not good.
There's something about that sounds kind of
well, you get
amazing.
You get a free slice of sourdough.
Yum.
Wow.
You get to see them making the sourdough.
I love bread.
I love bread.
I love eating bread.
Love a sourdough.
Absolutely.
It feels like a lot of tension would be built up when they're talking about bread. I just feel like, man, I can't wait to eat some of this bread.
Get to see some of the bread.
Yeah.
All the different stages of bread.
I mean, you can make jokes, but that sounds like an experience.
It really is. It really is. I think the clearest distillation of what happens when you get the retail and dining people to create an attraction.
Yeah.
They have you walk through a kitchen and look at sourdough that you can then buy.
A really bitter baker who's like, everyone eats the sourdough, but nobody asks how you make the sourdough.
Or like when they were having those blue skies in Colorado, like one morning, one of them just got a fresh hot slice of sourdough and just went, this is it.
Imagine.
This is it.
How do they do it, though?
This is going in.
Let's pull back that curtain. Tell them the story. Have you ever been to Victoria's sort of Disneyland alternative?
Victoria.
The Ned Kelly Light and Sound Show in Glenrowan?
No.
You haven't been? You got to get. You love theme parks. I mean, it's
oh my
a
goodness,
bit smaller, but it's all animatronics.
I love
and like pre-recorded gunshots. And it was built like decades ago, and it hasn't changed since.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah, if you're ever driving Melbourne or Sydney, it's not too far off the path.
That's amazing.
You really should drop in, do yourself a favour.
Look, I really then it all fell apart here in my. I need to be full disclosure here. My piece, my written piece, kind of fell apart at this point. Because I went into maybe a little too much detail up top, which we could argue is fair.
This is we know this is all in your heart and in your mind already. Just let it spew forth.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
then.
fine.
All right, then.
We are fascinated.
It did very, very badly.
No.
Get out of
It did
town.
very, very badly, but they pretty much started getting to work straight away, fixing the problems. It became one of those moments where $600 million is like a lot of money to spend, but
It's also not.
it's also not.
Yeah.
And if you spend $600 million on something, or if you don't spend enough money, you're going to lose more money than if you spend the right amount of money, if that makes sense.
You've got to
Yeah.
spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
I've always said that, and people quote me on it.
That's absolutely right. And you are very wealthy.
I
You're
am.
such a filthy capo.
Oh, yeah. Proudly.
You
They-
spent a lot of money in your time.
I've spent too much money.
They shut down the Superstar Limo ride pretty quickly, turned it into a Monsters Inc. ride.
What? Drew Carey?
I'm
Slap
I'm
in the
so
face.
sorry. I never got to see it, and that broke my heart.
That's amazing. Yeah, they just slowed it down. It's such a weird decision. It feels like a small, like it doesn't feel like a big thing like Disney would make a decision like that. It was going to be fast. Just do it slow.
The limo gets stuck in traffic.
It's
That's
so
fine.
weird.
Happens to limos. It's a realistic experience.
LA
Strange.
famously has terrible traffic.
I can't believe I've never heard of this. Everything
No.
about it is so odd.
It's very
A bread.
special. It's very, very special. It's the particularly the sourdough bread.
You
Yeah.
learn about bread. It's the Disneyland, right? You'd be looking across the road at kids having the time of their life, whizzing around a rides. You'd be like slowly plodding through with Rosie O'Donnell telling you about bread. It's so weird.
Would I be right in thinking that some people would only have one day to spend at either park and they go, oh, let's go to the new one. That's got to be
Yeah.
That's the
hot,
best thought.
banging. And then you're right, Matt, that you are seeing people on that new Tower of Terror or whatever it is, because that's so tall. You can see people going, yeah! Whilst your hands are like kneading some sourdough.
Oh no, you didn't actually get to knead the sourdough. You watched the
Watching you watch Ryan Stiles make sourdough. Oh my God.
The other part that I also love was they had a part like the agriculture of California, and they had just some tractors, and that you could just sit on, and apparently
now it's Wobby's world.
It is Wobby's World.
This is Wobby's World.
Where you get on the fake tram, even though you've caught the tram out there to go to Wobby's World.
They're literally just tractors you could sit on. So they shut down Superstar Limo. The drop tower that was planned for Disneyland, they ended up building in California Adventure.
Thank
Try and
God.
get anyone.
How did they shoehorn it into the Californian theme?
Well, because it was Hollywood, the Hollywood Tower of Terror.
Right.
Was the original thing. They were going to make it a frontier drop tower. They made it the Hollywood Tower of Terror.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
They're very smart.
just put Hollywood at the front.
Fine.
You could do anything.
Here's the thing. You let the Imagineers do what they do.
Yeah.
You give them a few $1 billion.
Okay.
They're going to deliver. Then Bob Iger came in charge. He took the place of CEO, and he described in an interview. He described it as a brand withdrawal. He basically said that any time you don't commit to a brand, it's a brand withdrawal. And he invested $1.1 billion in fixing the park. So some of the things they did was they changed it from a caricature to more of a celebration. The Paradise Pier, which is the Santa Monica Pier recreation, they made it into an old-fashioned version of that. They got rid of the postcard entrance and changed it to a vision of Los Angeles when Walt Disney first arrived in 1937. So they tried to go back to that romantic idea of Disney's history. They went from parody to pastiche, I would say.
Right, like the golden age of Hollywood sort of thing.
And it's actually lovely when you go there now. That's what I'm sort of...
Yeah, it sounds much nicer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still a little weird.
Yeah.
Because you can see Hollywood up the road.
But I'd rather see this old-timey pier.
Did they do the Hollywood sign and all that as well?
So they got rid of... They had stuff like that. They got rid of all of that.
Right.
I think they might still have a bit of a Hollywood sign kind of thing, but it's mostly all gone. They added Cars Land, which was
The car park came back.
I really like that.
Cars Land.
Which you would think doesn't work, but it actually does work because Cars Land is all about, or Cars the movie is all about Route 66, which ends at Santa Monica Pier, so it connects to Paradise Pier. They then changed Paradise Pier to Pixar Pier, which works a little bit less well than the Cars Land concept. They changed then Hollywood Tower of Terror to Mission Breakout. The Marvel Boys in Space also doesn't quite work as well.
Oh.
And to conclude,
So they've slowly just backed away from the California idea.
so what happened is they leaned into the California. There's been this, like, it's almost like a graph, if you will, of like it was really bad and then it got more and more classy and then they just like started adding more and more.
All right.
But here's the thing, right? It was always a bit and like it's a really fun ride. You go on the ride and then who's the Space Marvel people?
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Guardians of the Galaxy. You're in the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And most people don't think that much.
Yeah.
Most people don't go, why is this in Hollywood land?
Yeah.
Most people are like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're up
absolutely.
and down. And then,
they probably made it in Hollywood at
Yeah.
some point. It's a Hollywood movie.
I think they filmed it in Atlanta, but it kind of works. It doesn't have the history, the detail, and the perfection of Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people will tell you it's the better park. It has better food. The sourdough is...
So the sourdough thing's still there?
It has better rides, and don't worry, it still has. This is my final line. It still has the sourdough tour.
Well, that's a new bucket list goal for me to do the sourdough
Because it's
walk.
going to go, and you know, I think this is an escape. I do escapism, you do escapism. We shouldn't talk too much about the state of the world, but the state of the world means that I don't think they're going to get to getting rid of the sourdough tour as quickly as they were going to, but it's still there, and let me tell you, it's very special.
So you've done the sourdough tour?
Yeah, that was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
So I'd been to Disneyland a couple of times, but I'd only ever been there for a day. So when I went to California Adventure Park, I was so excited about this notion. And you go there and they give you a little free piece of sourdough.
It's not even a slice.
It's like a tiny little
This
piece.
is one of the weirdest things I've ever
It
heard.
really
And I
is.
love that they didn't get rid of it. Like
Yeah.
Bob Iger came in and he was like, all right, we got to change this up. We got to make this better. We got to like really get the best. It has the best rides now. You know, Soarin' is one of the best rides. It's incredible. The Mission Breakout is so much fun. Incredicoaster, which was originally California Screamin'. Really great rides.
That is a pun.
Okay.
California Screamin' and Incredicoaster.
Yeah.
Because because it's not the same word as dreaming. It's just, it's changed the word, but the pun is because it rhymes.
It's the sound alike.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
sound-alike thing. I
That's
feel
what
like I'm
it's
getting
all
closer
about.
all the time.
Thanks
Yeah.
for teaching us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Zach.
Oh,
You've
thank
taught
you.
us a
You're
lot.
welcome. Did you like California Adventureland?
Yeah.
I want to go. I'll
Yeah.
go there before I go to the old one.
Yeah.
now.
if-
No, I wouldn't recommend that.
No, still going to the original.
I was legit about to ask if you've got one day, which one would you say is better?
I would say if you've got one day, go to Disneyland. I mean, it's the place.
It's the OG.
It's
Yep.
the OG. It has great rides. It's got the history, and I know a lot of people when they go to a theme park, they're not there for the history per se, but you do feel it. It's got like the reason I fell in love with it when I went, because a lot of people assume I must have gone as a kid, and that's why I'm obsessed. I went like 5 years ago, and
Love this.
and the reason I became obsessed with it was because I remember I was on a work trip, and the people were like I call it a work trip. I was there with Google and YouTube, and they were like, "Oh, you've got a free day. Let's go to a theme park. We can either go to Universal or we can go to Disney." And I was like, "Oh, Disney, that's kiddie. That's like I'd rather go to Universal." I got outvoted, and we ended up going. And you go there to Disneyland, and the entrance has got nothing to do with Disney. It's like a train station, and then you step in, and the main entrance has nothing to do with Disney. It's like a recreation of Disney's childhood
Wow.
town. It's called Main Street USA. There's a castle at the end. There's all these things that have nothing to do with the corporate brand, and you go, oh, this is a creative project. This is a single person's creative venture, and then it's been added on. It's been plus. There's better rides have been put in. You can now like go to Star Wars and do all the fun stuff. Like Eisner did a lot of really cool stuff, but there's something to the creative vision of the place that is underrated, I think. So I
Wow.
would say go to Disneyland.
Okay. We'll have to drag Matt away from the sourdough experience.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Hopefully
we
we'll
just
have 2 days.
Yeah. Say, we just have to make sure we have 2 days because we're not missing out on sourdough.
Because you got to go to the sourdough
Okay.
experience.
I need to see some classic California sights without leaving Disney.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
That's great.
It's very, very funny. And it's one of those things, like I think most people that go now are like, oh, that one has all the best rides. It's got better food. It's all right. Disneyland's kind of like cute and fun too.
Yeah.
Like it's, people don't, but when you know the history, there's something so funny about it. Like they've done so much good work. It's a good theme park now. It's worth the like $100 and something it costs to go. It really is worth it.
Yeah.
But deep down is just the shittest idea that has ever come out of corporate America.
So good. So good.
And that's why I love Disney's California Adventure.
How many have you been to? So you said there's 8. Is it 8 Disney
So
parks
there's
in all?
12.
12.
Oh, this is I really am. I love this shit. So there's 12 parks, but there's less resorts. So there's 2 parks at Disneyland Resort, so Disneyland California Adventure.
Yep.
At Walt World, there's Magic Kingdom, which is kind of very similar to Disneyland. There is Epcot, which we talked about, which
Yeah.
is sort of like not the city. It's a kind of a world showcase, future world kind of thing, very 80s, which I've not been to. Animal Kingdom, which is like halfway between a zoo and a theme park, but plus there's Avatar Land there now.
Okay.
Because, you know, why not?
Oh, that's
not?
coming. Yeah, the new Avatar movies are coming
Yeah,
at
you
some
may
point.
as well just do.
There's 6 more Avatar films
What?
or something.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of Avatar
they've-
films
they-
being made.
Funded them all in one go, and there's I can't remember if it was 6, but there's like a bunch of sequels.
No
And they're all
way.
being made at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because everyone's forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But it was huge
the highest
at the
grossing
time.
movie of
Yeah.
all time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
it's an
crazy
odd
to
story.
go, well, obviously people will want 6 sequels.
Yeah, just very confident.
Start with 1 and see how it goes.
I'm a big believer because I had my doubts, but I'm like, all right, James Cameron has always been on the money. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
True.
But little Disney connection, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was the head of the like film studio at Disney during the Disney decade, left and created DreamWorks, has never gotten it wrong. So all the Disney movies you love was Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Oh.
Then he left and made Shrek. Disney went downhill. He made Shrek.
God
he made
damn.
DreamWorks. And that was great. So it's like this guy knew what was up. And then he had an idea a few years ago, a new streaming service. And everyone was like, sounds kind of naff, but he's never been wrong. And that streaming service was a streaming service named Quibi. And I don't know if you guys know anything about Quibi. But Quibi was around for about 3 months. It cost them $1.7 billion they raised.
Ooh.
And it's short for Quick Bites, and you could watch things both vertically and horizontally. And it was very, very bad. They did a lot of bad stuff, and it was terrible. And
Okay.
that makes me think that maybe James Cameron doesn't know what he's doing, and the Avatar sequels are going to suck as bad as the first one did.
Nearly everyone, their hot streak ends at some point.
Has to.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I don't know about Avatar 2.
What about 3, 4, 5? Well, how do you think of those? Or 6?
6, 7, 8, 9. But I will say they released a behind the scenes picture because there's a lot of underwater stuff for Avatar 2.
Where was Avatar Land, did you say?
That's in Animal Kingdom. Sorry, I
Oh,
should
right.
get back
Oh,
to what
I
is
forgot the
already a
question.
diversion from the presentation I finished. So there's Animal Kingdom, and then there is a place called Hollywood Studios, which is has like links to. It was basically because Orlando Universal Studios was going to open, so they just bet them to it.
Yeah, right.
And in Paris, they have Euro Disney, which was now is called Disneyland Paris, which is very, very beautiful, but a little run down. Apparently, I've not been.
Did that turn into a success after its tough start?
I think they kind of got it rolling.
Yeah.
But what happened was they promised a second park, and then they lost a lot of money there. They lost a lot of money at Disney California Adventure. So then they opened a Hollywood Studios themed park there, which is apparently just like very bad. Like it's just like 3 airport hangars with some stuff in it.
Oh.
And then Hong Kong Disneyland, again, they didn't have money because of the things I've just mentioned. Also not great. Shanghai Disneyland, which is apparently great. I've been to Hong Kong. I've been to California.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess it's cool.
Is it a bucket list for you to see them all?
Yeah,
that'd
definitely.
be sick.
I think I'm funny on Shanghai. Mm-hmm. Because, it's like co-owned by the mainland Chinese government and they're a bit crook, aren't they?
Oh, okay. You brought your politics here. I thought I told you to check that at the door.
I'm sorry.
You having a go at the capos before?
Here we go. Here we bloody go.
But yeah, that's my little love letter to Disney California
Zach, that was
Adventure.
great.
Fantastic report. Thank you so
you're
much.
very kind.
Yeah, well done. Do you
Thank you.
feel okay, generally people will finish and then we'll stop recording and they'll say, was that okay? That felt terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to tell them that we all feel that
We say it to each
every
other.
time.
Years in, we still feel that.
Yeah, we
So-
still go, was that okay? And the others go, yes.
Yeah.
So
We want to tell you before, in case there's any doubt, it was terrible.
it was
Yeah,
really bad.
absolutely. Well, here's what happened is I wrote a lot of detail and then I got to dot points about halfway through. But I think I really picked it back up at the end.
yeah.
Like that sourdough tour.
We love.
Yeah, that saved everything.
Honestly, all the dot points, the only reason we knew there were dot points is because you mentioned it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I
Wouldn't
don't
know.
think we would have even noticed.
What I should have done is bluffed.
Yes.
Just
Because you
believe
just
in
knew.
yourself.
You just knew. You knew your shit. So thank you. That.
It's in your soul.
That
I
was
can
great.
feel it. What's your pick of the Australian ones, which are basically all in Queensland, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, I'm very excited for all the borders to open because I'm keen to go back. I haven't been in so long that I couldn't say. I'm sure they're all not great by comparison. Probably Warner Brothers Movie World.
Yeah.
Because fun fact about Warner Brothers Movie World, they hired, when they built the first part of it, they hired someone who was involved in the hub and spoke design of the original Disneyland. So it was one of his last projects.
Cool.
So there's a little bit of Movie World that has that Disneyland sort of,
The magic.
but from photos that I've seen, it's gone a little.
Yeah, I went to all 4 the year that
we
California World opened in 2001.
Oh, okay, great.
And yeah, so I was in school and it was exciting. I still haven't been to any of the real, the proper American ones. So I don't know how to compare it. And they were all pretty exciting. But I think I remember ranking them at the time. Dreamworld was the best.
Yeah.
Then Wet and Wild, then Movie World, then SeaWorld.
Here's my question to you. Do any of you remember the Gremlins ride at Movie World?
No.
There's a video online about it, and it's really very funny. It's a very funny, very weird ride. Because Movie World, the whole thing was you're at the movies, you experience the movies.
Right.
They're like, how do we do a movie? How do we do a ride about Gremlins, which everybody loves? It's the early 90s, but also go with this behind the scenes DVD extras don't exist yet theme. And people went. The idea is you went and you're watching clips of movies and then the Gremlins take over and then you go on the ride and the Gremlins are there, but then also Beetlejuice is there. And then the Gremlins and Beetlejuice fight and then I think Beetlejuice wins. And then you're like, thanks Beetlejuice, and that's the end of the ride.
That's real weird.
And then apparently when they recreated Movie World in Germany and they recreated that ride, but Beetlejuice wasn't as successful, so it's Alf.
Oh my God.
So this is the attention to detail Disney has, or that they lost for a moment. but that movie world has less of, which has its own charm.
I think speaking of Beetlejuice, I've watched it the first time. I just saw it on Halloween just go on. It was pretty good. But someone was saying, or I was reading online that Tim Burton's another one who sort of seemed like to everyone a genius who could do no wrong and then sort of fell off a cliff. I can't remember what movie it was. And there was a theory I read that it's as his hair style has deteriorated, so has his films.
I heard a theory about Tim Burton that was as the bigger his budget, the worse the film.
Right.
Which I think is
That
pretty
can
good.
happen, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can do more stuff. People say that about the Star Wars guy as well, right?
Yeah.
He did better. The earlier films were better because he had to improvise and...
What's interesting when I was doing my research for this was there's a clip in the Imagineering story, which is a series on Disney Plus, which is very funny, very good, but very funny if you know the full story because there's a lot of like this wonderful thing. I'm like, I know that sucked. I've watched other things about it. But there's a clip of Michael Eisner saying, I actually think, a smaller budget can really like help creativity, like exactly that logic. And then they like cut to a shot of just like this giant orange ride that they had at Disney California. It's like, this is the man who led to the sourdough tour.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need the money.
Yeah. Love the sourdough. It's the best
Oh,
bit.
it's so good. I can't wait to go and do the sourdough ride. Well, that brings us to everyone's favourite section of the show, the fact, quote, or question section, which has a jingle. I think it goes like this.
Fact, quote, or question.
Ding.
He always remembers the ding. So in this section, Zach, our Patreon supporters who go to patreon.com/dogoonpod, and if they're on the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe Memorial Rest in Peace Edition level.
And I can only imagine if the great Sid Scheinberg created a theme park, it would
What?
probably be similar to the one we talked about today.
I reckon.
He is an ideas man.
He is.
Not great ideas,
No,
but
he
a
would
lot
have-
of them.
He would have approved of the sourdough experience.
He's the one, we learn about him in the Back to the Future episode where he wanted to rename it Spaceman from Pluto.
And he
Yeah.
wanted a chimp.
A chimp instead of a dog?
I think he actually, I think maybe he was the one who made him change from a chimp to a
Yeah,
dog.
maybe.
And he said there's never been a hit movie with a chimp in it.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
He had all these weird logics. And I mean, that one
amazing.
was fine. The dog was fine. But yeah, they
Spaceman.
were like Spaceman from Pluto. Apparently, Spielberg sent a message back saying, we got your memo. Very funny. We're having a great laugh about it. So like playing it like so he'd be too embarrassed to
That's
actually fight for
amazing.
it.
Spaceman from Pluto. Was there any proposal to make it about Spaceman from
He was
Pluto?
gonna. So there was a scene where when Marty arrives back in time, he's wearing this plutonium protection suit, and so he kind of looked like a spaceman. And they were gonna. He said, "We write in one other thing that'll connect it to it," and that's all it would have been. And how baffling that would have been for the public.
Back
Yeah.
to the Future. What I love about that is there's those moments where now we see that's one of the greatest names.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Back to the Future is
It's a great name.
it's kind of probably why it was successful. The idea that there would have been a conversation around that really tickles me from a
Yeah.
place of creativity. And I've been the guy voting against the things, Like,
Yeah, you wanted to go to Universal World.
yeah. But the idea of being the guy that was like, Back to the Future,
Yuck.
shouldn't you go forward to the future?
Shouldn't it be about a spaceman from Pluto?
I would have called it Quibbles.
Quibbeebs.
So when people sign up on that level, they can give us a fact, a quote, or a question. We read out a few each week. They also get to give themselves a title. First one comes from Daniel Headley. He's given himself the title of Resident Do-Go-Onologist.
To-go-onologist?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yep.
Do-Go-Onologist. Thank you. And Daniel's asked the question here. I don't read them until I read them, Zach. So.
That's great. That's good. That's important.
So far, there hasn't been anything particularly offensive that I've had to go, ooh.
Thank goodness.
So Daniel writes, there are only 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system. Liberia, is that right? Liberia? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Because you could also say Liberia, but it's Liberia.
Yep.
Ugh. Not because I'm thinking. Anyway,
Thinking Libya?
I'm thinking Libya. Yeah, Liberia, Myanmar, and the United States.
Wow.
Wow.
That number might be down to 2. In 2018, Liberia Commerce and Industry Minister Wilson Tape said the government plans to adopt the metric system in order to promote accountability and transparency in trade. I thought this a question. I reckon that's a fact. I said, yes, I copied and pasted this after Googling most interesting facts. But hey, it's still interesting.
That is pretty interesting.
That's
Thank
really
you.
weird.
It's definitely a fact.
Daniel.
Not a
Yeah,
question.
well,
Yeah.
Yes.
if it is a fact, I'm assuming it's a fact.
Yes. That's my answer.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted at least a question mark at the end.
My answer is sourdough.
Lock it in, Eddie.
Thank you so much, Daniel Headley, for that great question. Next one comes from Dominic Stevenson, who's called himself the rector of Burton Coggles. I don't understand it, but I love it. And Dominic has offered a fact, which is each sea in Pacific Ocean is pronounced differently. Wow. He wrote the wow. I agree.
This-
Pass.
Pacific
Ific.
Ocean.
Ah.
Pass. So you got a s, a k, and a sh. Oh, that is very good
This
stuff.
is. I got to be
Dominic.
honest. I was saying. I think I said it before the podcast, not on the podcast. I've been doing a lot of the press and a lot of like.
Yep.
Yesterday I did a lot of the in-depth ones, so I've been very like on for a really long time, and I'm just loving just like
Oh, wow.
yeah, okay, yeah, give me that.
Cool.
Give me that fact.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, sit back and relax. Enjoy.
Yum, 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 yum.
This next one comes from Maine Gallagher, who's given themselves the title of Theme Hospital Administrator and Roller Coaster Tycoon. Well, appropriate episode
fucking
Wow.
hell,
for
that's
them to
great.
be giving us a question. Well, let's see.
And are you excited for Roller Coaster Tycoon console edition? That was a question to this person.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, just I'm
fantastic.
engaging with
That is coming out soon, is it?
yes, it is.
Will it be on the Nintendo Switch for Jess and I?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh,
I have no idea.
Fingers crossed.
I did play a bit of that game though. A lot of fun. Roller
Yeah,
Coaster
right.
Tycoon.
Well, Maine, I'm saying Maine, M-A-E-N. Maine, I reckon.
Mayan.
Maine. Maine writes, I'm planning post-lockdown holidays. I'd like to come to Australia. Where would you recommend?
Oof.
I like kitsch nonsense, like world's biggest whatever, and comedy and pubs. I do not like big spiders. I'm in the UK, if that makes a difference.
Oh, if only we had a Melbourne land or something.
Yeah, God, that'd be good.
Kitsch, because I love kitsch. That's why I love the Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kitsch is like my number one.
Is-
I love like tiki.
Do you think the Ned Kelly Light and Sound show would equal kitsch?
Is it too kitsch? Is it like
It's pretty kitsch.
Sovereign Hill's pretty fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sovereign Hill's
is that-
fun.
That's kitsch.
And then the big things, the
Big
big,
banana.
pineapple,
Yeah.
the big banana, which is
prawn.
not big enough to warrant its big title, the big banana,
Yeah.
which is part of its
But
charm.
the big banana's the original, so it didn't have anything
it?
to scale against. I
Really?
learned that just recently.
That's
I'm
great.
listening to a Bill Bryson audiobook where he travels around Australia.
That's fantastic.
He went to the Ned Kelly Light and Sound show
I have to go to this.
and he couldn't believe it was worth $15.
too high.
Yeah.
Oh, rough.
But he also, but he loved it. He's like, it was worth every dollar going in.
Worth all
Apparently
$15.
going in, this because I'm guessing he wrote this book in the 90s, and he, the owner who would have also been running it and taking the money at the front, they said that's $45 for the three of you. $45, is it good? And the audiobook's got the guy does this bad broad Australian accent when he does Australian characters. He goes, good, mate. It's like Disneyland in there.
Incredible.
There's apparently Dreamworld started as that it was going to be Australia's Disneyland. And like every single place, I was just like, oh, we could just put some roller coasters here. Like it's a lot easier to just put roller coasters in there.
Just spread out some roller coasters.
Can I say? So it's called the Ned Kelly Story now.
Oh.
And it is number 12 of 12 things to do in Glenrowan on TripAdvisor.
Wow.
It's not a big town.
Have you heard about the Titanic dining experience in? I don't know if it's like what's happening with it, but
In Williamstown, that one?
Yes, yeah. Apparently, it's a 3-hour theatre show in Williamstown, and the guy who created it just loves Titanic. And you sit and eat like you're on the Titanic.
Yeah, there's different classes.
Is
you can
there
go
really?
first, second, and third class.
Amazing. That sounds phenomenal. My favourite part is it actually works because people did sit and eat on the Titanic until the point that it starts sinking. Because the idea of like, oh, dessert, like the idea of finishing your dessert while the ship goes down is so funny to me.
That's so funny.
Does water come up on their ankles or anything like that?
Look, I don't know, but I'm going as soon as I can.
Yeah.
I've not been to many theatre restaurant shows because I imagine I would love them, but I think they're a bit like back to IHOP pancakes where they're great for the first bite and then you have to sit through it for 3 hours.
3 hours, my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just imagine the food's probably not very good.
Yeah.
Because they're not focusing on that.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of that mass produced.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun.
Just
So
a
what-
final note on the Ned Kelly story. It
Oh,
says,
yes.
what are travellers saying? And the first thing is, quote, this authentic reenactment is likely to scare young children and the occasional adult. That's what travellers are saying.
It's a bit scary.
Yeah.
Authentic.
Incredible.
So, yeah, I guess for Maine, that's probably my big tip. Do you have what's your big...
Big banana, big
Oh, the big
pineapple.
things,
Yeah, I would definitely say those things. It's hard to know, isn't it? It's hard to know your own kitsch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Your own sort of country's quirks, you know, because I think you've got to ask outsiders what the weird.
Yeah, you never
Yeah.
see it. It's just like, oh, we just live here.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not going to see the weird sights.
We're
you
like,
do
I
when you're traveling.
love how Australians are always like, you know, Melbourne's as good as the European cities, and it's like, then why would they leave Europe? It's a very long flight.
Let them enjoy the city that they've never been to.
yeah.
What does that even mean? As good as?
Yeah.
Like there's a rating. You can rate a city
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's very strange.
And it's always like, oh, why are we always advertising the crocodiles and the desert? You know, we've got beautiful theatre companies, and it's like because they have them in Europe.
Yeah.
They don't
They don't
have
have
big
crocodiles.
deserts and crocodiles.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, just go to the Great Barrier
So if
Reef.
you don't like
Yeah.
big spiders, yeah, I mean, you see, yes, I wouldn't worry too much about spiders and
You're
stuff.
not going to see them.
Depending on where you go, but yeah, I mean, I've taken out 3 spiders from my lounge room this week to put outside.
How big are we talking?
Just like 20-cent piece.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know what big means.
Yeah.
And I assume they're not going to harm me.
Big pineapple.
Big
is my
pineapple.
one.
Yeah.
Where's that? That'd be up north.
It's in Queensland,
Yeah.
I believe, and I think it's quite big.
Yeah,
but I was
that's a
quite
big
small when I went to the big pineapple.
So who knows?
Who knows?
Now it might be, just a bit taller than you.
Yeah.
Where's the big Humpty Dumpty? I got a photo of me when I'm very young in front of the big Humpty
There's a
Dumpty.
big Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, I don't know where that photo was taken, but
I've just looked up the big Humpty Dumpty, and what travellers are saying is it's likely to scare young children and the occasional adult.
so Maine, yeah, we're saying go to see the big things and maybe get to Glenrowan if you're in country Victoria to see the the Ned Kelly story.
Plus, there's the big Ned Kelly out there as
Oh
well.
yeah,
So that's
on the
a
same street, the
double
big Ned
whammy.
Kelly's right there as
Yeah.
well, so you can knock off 2 in 1 there, and
Yeah.
obviously get to the Titanic.
Get to that
Dining
Titanic. Maybe
experience.
not. Maybe not the Titanic one. Now, let me go and I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
report
report
back
back.
to you three.
And the last one we're going to do is from Odie Matthews. And this is a quote. Odie writes, "Hello. In honor of Veterans Day coming up in the States," when did he write this? He wrote this about a month ago. I assume it's still coming up.
Yes, it is. It's November 11th. It's the
remember, November
Oh.
So
11th.
it's right now. As
Oh, yeah, it's today.
It's the day this comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Whoa.
God.
Because it's the same as our
Remembrance Day.
Wow.
And also the 5th anniversary of when we first ever uploaded this show. So there
Oh,
you
my
go.
God. It's a big day today.
Remember, November 11. So Odie's going to share some of his favourite quotes from Chesty Puller, one of his favourite reports. The report you did, Bob? I
Yeah.
think. Number 1, sun when the Marine Corps wants you to have a wife, you will be issued one. 2, we've been looking for the enemy for several days now. We've finally found them. We're surrounded. That simplifies our problem of getting to these people and killing them. Jesty.
Far out.
3, he's a war hero. He was
I
like
just did a little Google. This is what I'm doing. I'm like keeping track.
he's a multi medal winner. 3, and he's like, I think, because we've got quite a few American service people listeners.
Yeah, right.
And I think they've a bunch of them have said Chesty Puller to them is just like their god, if I'm
really?
remembering correctly.
I'm looking at a photo of him with like a bulldog wearing a little army hat, and I'm on board.
Love that.
Is it because of the dog?
Yeah, the dog's very cute.
Yeah. That'll do it.
And third one is where the hell do you put on a bayonet? Where the hell do you put the bayonet? He said this while at a flamethrower demonstration. Apparently, Puller wanted to be ready to stab the men he set on fire. He just loved war, I reckon.
Yeah.
Chesty. It says, I think these are pretty funny. And as a Marine vet, I also want to say thank you. A lot of the people in my unit loved this episode when it came out. Thanks for everything.
There you go. That's
Semper
nice.
Fi. Latin. Semper
Awesome.
Fi, Semper Fi. Cheers, Odie. Oh, that's nice. I don't remember any of that. I wonder if you got to those quotes in the report. What a character. All right, and guests in the past have realised midway through that this second part of the show goes about as long as the first. We're only
I'm
really
aware
just
of
beginning.
this segment. There's a very funny moment with your podcast where it did go from an hour to an hour and 10, an hour and 20, an hour and 30.
Yep.
And I just assumed you were just getting a little more luxurious, and then realised that it was these sort of.
It's
That's
a bit.
right.
It's been a bit of both as well because the reports have been getting longer again lately. We did our first one that was almost made 3 hours.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that was the reporter. That was over 2 hours of it.
And did you release the whole 3 hours?
Yeah.
That's great. I'm a big fan of this, though. I like the sort of settling in nature of it. The energy kind of changes.
Yeah.
It's like the after party.
Yeah. Welcome.
It's like, all right, now it's just us and the patrons.
Yeah, it really is us and the true believers.
We've turned the music down
Yeah,
and we're
that's
just
right,
having a
alright.
chat.
So we also like to thank a few of our other Patreon supporters who support us on Patreon at the shout out level. And just when we comes up with a little game based on the theme.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a ride or
Yeah, give him a ride.
yeah. Or we could give him a Disney character.
Oh, that's fun. But we didn't really talk too much about characters.
Well, there wasn't many characters.
Yeah.
You could give them...
Michael Eisner was a bit of a character.
Yeah, that's very true. You could give them like a bad corporate idea.
Yeah,
Like you could
that's
blue
good.
sky, something around blue sky thinking in Denver.
Yeah.
I love that, except I just don't think I could come up with that many bad ideas.
Yeah, maybe we come up with other rides that are, like the bread experience.
Yeah, love
yeah.
that. Yeah, okay, we'll come up with some sort of experience/ride for them.
Maybe you can use their name or where they're from as
Yeah,
inspiration. So firstly, if I may, I'd love to thank from, we're not sure where from actually.
Oh, great.
Well,
That's
use
not
them-
super helpful.
Use that as information. Right, here we go. Here we go.
Ainsley Frank.
Ainsley.
Ainsley
Maybe
Frank.
the Anne Frank? No.
Well, Ainsley Harriott, of course, is the overexcitable British chef who hosts the British version of Ready Steady Cook.
Ah.
So maybe like a Ready Steady Cook experience.
Oh,
What
yeah.
about
Nice.
whatever? So some people will bring their own food to the theme park to save money. What about you go to the experience and whatever 5 ingredients people from the audience put on stage, a chef has to come up with something out of that.
But instead of a chef, it's just a 19-year-old employee who did a 2-week course on how
They
to
got a
do Ready
certificate
Steady
too.
Cook.
That's Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, there's a video introduction from Rosie O'Donnell.
She's had to do every combination pre-planned.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, they type it in and
There's
they...
something, yeah. 5 peanut butter sandwiches, 2 Panadols, a condom, a sachet of sugar, and a celery stick. And then Rosie O'Donnell whips it into something digitally.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ainsley Frank. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'd also love to thank from Phoenix, Arizona, Sean Hoffman.
Okay.
Phoenix.
Something Phoenix related, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh,
rising Phoenix.
Oh, okay. So a phoenix would rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
So it's a ride where you come through fire
Yeah.
and it's very hot
Oh, okay.
and quite dangerous.
So it's like you're rising through the ashes.
Yeah, and then you get shot up into the air for a bit.
First, they make you dress as a bird.
Yeah.
Like a big, elaborate bird costume.
Yeah, but it gets
which is
singed every
flammable.
time. So it's a
partially
different bird
flammable.
costume every time.
Wow, that's good. I think that could be really good. I think Sean would love that.
Yeah.
And you're taken through via a video of Dustin Hoffman explaining it in character as Rain Man.
Yeah. Perfect. That's exactly how I envisioned it. So
Awesome.
thank you.
I think
Yeah.
that's a really good one. Thank you so much, Sean Hoffman. And finally, I'd love to thank from Harrod in Ohio, God's country, America's greatest state, Dean Cooley.
What about
Ohio.
Harrods is, of course, the famous, very expensive upmarket department store
Yes.
in London.
Yep.
What if it's like a Harrods recreation where you go in and spend too much money and you don't get that much?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's like
I
a spending experience.
It's sort of like from the outside, it looks like a small version of Harrods, and from the inside, it looks like a place where you can just buy all the merch you can buy from all the other merch shops around it.
But more expensive.
But more expensive.
It costs
Yeah.
10 times as much.
Now we're thinking like corporate.
Now we're thinking corporate. See, when you said your Phoenix idea, I was like, that's good. But instead of what you've described, we just buy something from a shop and just make a really mediocre ride for cheap.
Yeah.
And then charge people a lot of money for
Yes.
it. This is
That's good.
God, you are good.
yeah, I know what's up.
Well done.
How do we normally do 3 of these each, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're my 3. So thank you so much to Ainsley, Sean, and Dean.
Oh, I'll go next then.
Wow.
And I would love to thank from Houston, Texas. Love to thank Hannah Dunning.
Well, their basketball team is the Rockets.
Okay. And Dunny. Maybe you
so
sit
it's-
on a toilet.
In a rock, so it's not the whole rocket. It's experiencing going to the toilet.
Yeah, how
in
you
space.
shit in space.
So you
Like
do
a
it
Holy.
vacuum bag.
Yeah, there's like a vacuum. So you
Yeah.
piss into a vacuum.
Right.
I love that.
That's great.
I was thinking, though, we could talk to the people at the Rockets, see if we could do some sort of synergy thing. Maybe possibly like a video screen with some Rockets players. They talk. We
Yeah.
can upcharge them.
Right.
A really exciting opportunity. As you exit, you can buy some Rockets merch.
Right. So, like, what about when you're on the
Yes.
toilet, like James Harden comes out and like gives you a pep talk or something whilst you're on the toilet?
Yeah.
No,
This
that's
is
good.
great. This
I'm
is
going
great.
full corporate. That's
No,
I'm
you're
committing.
You're honestly you're value adding for sure.
That's very, very good. I'd also love to thank from what country is SE?
Sweden, I think.
Sweden.
Wow.
And watch as I butcher this. Are you looking it up, Matt?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's in Sweden, Jess.
Sweden.
Great work.
Oh, with 836 inhabitants in 2010.
Wow.
And that place is called, Jess.
What does an umlaut do to an O again? It lengthens it, I think.
So it might be like Volsio,
Yeah, I reckon.
maybe.
I think that's a great interpretation.
I would love to thank Pasha
Mm.
Warfinge.
Oh,
Wow.
beautiful. Pasha Warfinge from
Sweden.
Volsju. Okay, so
Swedish.
I've got a fun idea.
Go,
I just quickly
yes.
googled Sweden's largest companies. So the H&M experience,
Right.
and basically the way the H&M experience works is you go in and you see it's a cool fashion show where you are the paparazzi, and you sit down and you get to press a little thing, it makes little flashes, and on stage is different park employees doing the runway of the latest H&M clothes. Afterwards, you just walk through a small H&M store where you can purchase your favourite H&M clothes,
And also the photos.
and also the photos that you yourself took.
And then People come around to your house and go, "Who's that on the catwalk?" You're like, the 17-year-old that sells turkey legs."
I took that photo.
The H&M
That's
experience.
really good. I think we're starting to really cook.
Yeah, now we're getting it.
Yeah, that's it. That's a great.
Thank you so much, Kaja.
Thank you so much.
Great name.
I would also love to thank from Hawthorne East here in Victoria.
Wow.
Love to thank Jemima Knox.
Ooh.
Well, obviously, the Hawthorn football team is the Hawks.
Yep.
They have a training facility they've built out in the outer east there. So maybe some sort of like affluent Eastland.
Have you ever done an episode, sorry, this is off topic, but kind of very much on topic, about the AFL experience?
About the experience.
Wasn't there there was like an exhibition in the middle of the city in like the early 2000s? I reckon you should get Broden Kelly from Aunty Donna on to talk about this, called the AFL experience.
I don't
It's like you spend
that.
$50 to go and like kick a football at a video screen and then like watch a video of James Hird being like, "Good on you, mate."
Wow.
Some execs went to Aspen, I reckon.
Someone went to
come up
Aspen
with
and
that.
came up with that idea.
Wow.
So something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, we have like, but it's a Hawthorn exclusive, and it's set in. It's you go to the city, but it's as if you're in the eastern suburbs.
Yeah.
It's a recreation of Hawthorn.
Yeah.
That's great.
That beautiful. Does Hawthorn have Rivoli Cinema or Lido?
Yes,
yep,
both.
that's
You know,
right.
like a
Sorry to
miniature, a miniature Lido cinema. You go
Yeah.
in, you watch a 20-minute movie about the sights and sounds of Hawthorn.
Wow.
Oh,
And on the way
yes.
out, Jeff Kennett shakes your hand.
Yes.
Well done. Well done.
A Jeff Kennett impersonator.
But we don't want to make it. It's not like current Hawthorn. This is like Hawthorn from 2006 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
It's got to
yeah.
be sort of a classic Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can get on the number 70 tram and it just takes you around the outskirts of this Hawthorn land.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that.
Oh, I like the scenic railway at Luna
Yeah,
Park.
exactly. Yeah.
Love
It's
it.
got a little tram. Ding, ding.
That's fantastic.
Pretty good.
Driven
Thanks,
by
Jemima.
Nick Mason.
Yeah.
Jemima Knox, another great name. Jesus, this is a great batch of names here today.
Very good. And oh, wait. Is that my third? That's my third. Yes.
Yes.
So,
Jeez,
Dave,
we're
Well,
on
racing
to you.
through
I was
these.
going to just
Where's-
keep going. I was having fun.
I would like to thank now from Manton in New South Wales, Sarah Smith.
Sarah
Sarah
Smith.
Smith. Okay.
Not the Sarah Smith who hosts Breakfasters on Triple R. I think she lives in Melbourne.
Hmm.
Glenn Manton was a footballer who played for Essendon and
Yes, good.
Carlton in the 90s and
What
the
about
early
it's
2000s.
like the Glenn experience? And it's famous Glens. Glenn McGrath, Glenn Robbins,
Glenn Gary, Glenn
Ah.
Ross.
Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, of course.
The
Glenn
Glen
Rowan.
Shopping Centre in Glen Waverley.
Oh, you could have a smaller version of the Glenn Rowan, Ned Kelly,
Oh,
Sight
yes.
and Sound show.
A
Perfect.
recreation of the a smaller version of the
Yes.
smaller version of Glen Rowan.
Yes.
Glen
Perfect.
World. This is great.
Yes.
Glen
all
World.
the famous Glens.
And then the tagline's like, where everyone's a Glenn.
Danny Boy would play a lot, only it would have changed it to Glenny Boy
Oh, Glenny boy.
because it already has the lyric from Glen to Glen.
Oh,
But now you just, get rid of Danny.
Yeah. Fuck
Glenny
off,
boy.
Danny.
I love that.
I think this could be
That's
really big.
very good.
That might be our best yet.
You guys
Yeah.
We're
have
now
got real
starting to warm up.
corporate minds. You're
Yeah.
making the real money now.
But now, where's the synergy come in here though?
Well, I think you'd maybe talk to different Glens, you know, their representation, their management, and maybe Glen merch. I really just see like your favorite Glens.
Glen 20.
Oh,
Get Glen 20 involved.
Sponsored by Glen 20.
That.
You can buy the merch has name tags that says hi, my name is Glenn.
Yes.
That's all they are.
I reckon the Glen 20 experience, I really see something where, remember in like the 90s where touch screens weren't very common? So like places like Science Works and stuff had touch screens, and you go in and there's these big like screens and it's like a digital recreation of a messy kitchen, and you use the touch screen to clean the kitchen. That's my
Yes.
the Glen 20 experience.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And
that's really
afterwards,
good.
you just sort of maybe step into a Glen 20 store and
Yeah.
buy some various Glen
Buy some
20
Glen
products.
20.
I should say the Glen badges have both spellings of Glen, one N or two N's.
Right.
oh, yeah,
that's
great.
good to be inclusive.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Sarah Smith. from Glen Mountain, New South Wales.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank now from Powies in Great Britain. I'm thinking that this is probably a Welsh place. That is James Burton. And I apologise if I've said that incorrectly there. But
James.
No.
I think you got that right.
My emphasis was
It's your middle name.
more on Powies.
James.
P-O-W-Y-S.
Powies. I've got to Google Powies.
Yeah,
Powies.
P-O-W-Y-S.
They're very Welsh.
Okay.
You
all
didn't
right.
have a go at the city though, Dave. There. See, you notice you skipped over
No,
the
she did,
city.
she did.
I didn't get to skip over shit.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to have
You
a crack at
threw
that
me
one.
Come on, Dave.
well and truly under the bus.
It is in Wales, absolutely.
I'll start you off lower.
Now you have a go.
Then it is C.
Looks like cum trench.
There is no vowels in the first word.
That's amazing.
And then in the second word, there's a couple. Lower. I'm not even going to. It would be offensive for me to have a crack, to be honest. So I'm not going to have a go. But thank you to James Burton.
Howard.
It'd be
James
offensive
Burton.
if you have a go. I've just called it cum trench.
James Burton. Okay.
From
Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Tim Burton.
Oh, Tim Burton, Tim Ross.
What good about, of course, you got the Adelaide Crows player, the Birdman Burton.
But Tim Burton, like a Tim Burton land is pretty great.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's one of those things where it could be awesome, but if you went to Denver, Colorado, you did your coke, you came out of that, you do like Tim Burton, but only the stuff he's made in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
So it's
All
the
his
wrong
hits.
Willy Wonka. It's like it's all the things you kind of that Big Eyes movie, which was pretty solid, but that's what the attraction is.
Yeah.
Yeah. People looking around like, where's Edward Scissorhands? Nah.
No,
No.
we're too expensive, the rights.
Yeah, we didn't want to get that. People are desperate to have a Nightmare Before Christmas T-shirt. I'm afraid we don't have those.
I'm so sorry, but we do have the dark place or whatever where there's that one about a vampire that no one really watched.
Did you want a T-shirt
I
of
saw
that?
that one at the cinemas.
So do I.
Dark Shadows.
I think that was maybe the last one I saw at the cinemas. You know what I mean? That was the one where I was
Yeah.
like, I think
I'm done.
I'm done.
Okay, I think I'm done.
I don't. He's not going to save this.
I think someone needs to come in here and tell them to stop. This is what happens when art happens in a frictionless vacuum. It's like, can I do this? Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Someone has to start saying no.
Hey, we want to remake Dark Shadows, and we're going to have Johnny Depp do whatever the fuck he wants in makeup that's not very effective. Can I do that? All right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Here's $20 million.
Yeah, his version of Dumbo.
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
I didn't watch that.
No, but apparently, doesn't it like, have you seen it?
No.
Apparently it's like, because the original Dumbo is only like an hour and a bit.
Yeah, right.
So they were like, how do you redo a movie that's quite short? People want longer movies now. Now, most people would go, don't do it. Then the next thing you'd do is like maybe just pad it out a little, like just have a few more scenes.
Make that terrifying pink elephant scene longer and scarier.
Disney movies loved like just that weird crook bit that upset you. Kids movies then were just like, and we have to have that one scene that just gives them nightmares.
Yeah.
But there was that film, they just added another 40 minutes of plot. So apparently where the old Dumbo ended, this just kept
Keeps
going
going.
and he like goes to the city.
What is he, babe?
It's literally, they're just like,
Dumbo's day out.
it's like, oh, it's too short. It's that like.
I got no problem with shorter movies.
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't know why. I'm starting to get annoyed that every film's going for over 2 hours now.
Yeah.
The amount of like movies I've watched with like the Leguizamo that I've watched where it's like people have come in and complained, they're going, it's only an hour and 20. And I'm like, I'm doing this every week. I welcome the hour 20.
Yeah.
Thank you for making it an hour 20.
Thank goodness.
Oh, my
Please.
God.
I don't know. There's a Beetlejuice 2 announced. I didn't know
Wow.
Is there? Yeah, right.
that. All right. Have we thanked?
I
Have
think
we
I've
got
got
one more?
one more. So that's James Burton heading up Tim Burton land. And finally, I would like to thank from Cothill, Oxfordshire in Great Britain, Kate Doherty.
Hey,
Hey,
Doherty.
Doherty. Okay, Carlton player Sam Doherty.
It's also Doherty's gym.
Doherty's
yeah,
gym is
Doherty's
very
gym.
Oh.
Gymland?
muscle land.
Yeah,
this-
muscle
yeah.
land.
Everything
Yeah.
for your muscles.
And there's all those those cutout things where you put your head in and you're a very muscly man.
And there's a lot of like skinny teenage boys that are a bit muscly and wearing like fake muscle suits.
Yes.
I love Muscle Land, brought to you by Doherty's.
And yeah, the food court, everything comes in like in the style of a protein bar. So you can get any meal in
Or
bar
mussels.
form.
or it's seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a seafood all you can eat buffet.
Yeah,
And there is a gym, like there's a like a gym at the in there, but it's
Yeah.
like not a real, like it's like kind of fun. It's almost like a play
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, they're like, instead of the big weights, it's all light. So everyone can look like you're.
Yeah.
Photo
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
They love
Yeah.
like bad theme parks love a photo opportunity. They're
Right.
like
Yeah.
the reason this corner has very little going on is for a photo. But yeah, you like it looks like you're
Yeah.
lifting a big weight.
Yeah, and there's like Arnie on the wall or something saying, "You can do it," or
Yeah.
something like that. Where
Yeah,
you're
you can be in that famous handshake with Arnie that became a meme.
Yes.
Oh,
you can,
right, with him and from Predator, Carl Weathers.
Oh, that's
Weathers.
Carl
Him
Weathers,
going arm
right.
to arm.
But maybe that's they tried to get Arnie, but Arnie's like, no, I have an investment in Gold's Gym, so unfortunately I can't be a part of the Doherty's project.
Yeah.
Carl
so
Weathers.
then it's Carl Weathers.
It's you and Carl.
It's you and Carl.
That's great.
Carl Weathers, he's in Arrested Development. Is that
Carl Weathers?
I think so, playing-
And he's always stealing stuff.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
he's a
version of Carl Weathers would totally be up. He'll come in person, do it for. You finish eating that protein bar. I'll have the rest of it.
I think Muscle World sounds like the worst place on earth.
Yeah.
Love it.
I want to go there.
I want to go there too.
I'm imagining that the weights look heavy, but they're really light, but the bars already have a bend in them, so it looks like you're lifting really, really heavy weight. They go that
funny.
far.
That's really, and there's like that, and they're kind of they're made of a material that's not quite durable enough. So within two or 3 years, it really does just look like a soft foam because it's got chips in it, and no one's really like making it work anymore.
No one's replacing it.
Yeah, because
No.
it's Muscle World.
And they lose the Doherty's sponsorship after 3 years.
But you can see they've just spray painted over it.
Yeah.
This little independent gym's like, actually,
Actually, this is too expensive
not.
for us.
Yeah.
There's a brief stint of like fitness first,
Yeah.
Muscle World by fitness first.
Yeah, that sounds so.
Goes through all of the different gyms until they're like, no, thank you.
Oh man.
All right, well, that brings us to the last few people we need to thank, and these are new members in the Triptych Club. People who've been supporting us for 3 years on the shout-out level. They
No,
get
these
inducted
are-
into the Triptych Club. I'm standing at the
I
door with
was
the
so
velvet rope.
impressed by that 3 years. I became Owen Wilson. Quite my accent.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So the way this works, Zach, is I'll read out their name, let them in. Jess is working behind the bar in this club. She's put together a cocktail, different one every week, and some sort of hors d'oeuvres. Dave books the band. Maybe we could pass over one of these duties to
Oh,
Zach
yes.
this week.
So we usually have a live act that could be dead or alive. Anything can happen in this club. Performing live. Who do you think would like to serenade our patrons tonight?
Is it just any?
Anyway.
Anyone. So last week it was Sting.
Oh wow.
Singing this music of Sting.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
nice of him to say yes to.
Yeah.
They don't
could-
always do that, but
No,
that's
they
up to...
could sing the music of anything. But sometimes, they could be dead.
What's your dream gig?
So it's like one artist is going to sing for them.
Yeah, they're in the corner. There's a little stage set up, and you can either go and rock out with them or you can just have it playing in the background.
While you're thinking about it, Zach, Jess, what do we got for hors d'oeuvres and drinks?
Okay, well, in like a classic sort of theme park vibe, what's classic theme park food? Like
Oh, like chips?
corn dogs,
corn
chips.
dogs, hot dogs, popcorn,
Popcorn,
definitely
fairy
chips.
floss.
Oh, fairy floss, cotton candy.
Yeah.
Love fairy floss. And then drinks wise, you can have anything you want. It's just going to come in a cup that's 3 times too big.
Okay,
Yeah, I
great.
love
It's going to be like
Big gulp.
bigger than your head,
Yep.
and everything's served in that. You could have milk, or you could have like a pina colada. It's all coming in the same cup.
Oh, I'll
love
have
it.
a pina colada, please.
Okay, great.
My
no
favourite
problem.
drink of all time.
Here's your very big cup.
I'll have 3 liters of milk, please.
No problem.
Your favourite drink of all time.
Here's your very big cup.
And who we got playing?
Well, so here's the thing, right? I didn't think to make it theme park related. If it was
No
theme
need.
park related, it would be a 19-year-old girl who looks a bit like Marilyn Monroe. but because for some reason, when you said artist, usually I take a little while to think of someone like. In an instant, I've not thought of this for a very long time, but in an instant, I thought of William Shatner's spoken word.
Oh,
Common people.
You remember
Yeah,
that
yeah,
brief
yeah.
period where
Fantastic,
William
yeah.
Shatner did spoken word?
That's
so
great. I'd
that
love
just
to
came
see
to me, and I feel like I need to be honest to that.
Yeah.
That's my
Yep.
truth.
I love it.
Big fan of that.
I think our Patreon supporters will love that too.
yeah. That's a treat. That's an absolute treat.
All right, now Dave normally he's like the hype man as they're entering. He'll hype them up based on their name, and then Jess normally hypes up Dave.
I don't hype him up. He gets a bit
Yeah,
shy.
but maybe you could hype Jess up
Okay,
after
for
she
sure.
hypes me up.
Yeah.
All right,
After
so
I
the-
hype them up.
There's
Okay.
only 2
Absolutely.
inductees
All right.
this week.
Here we go.
Firstly, from Mevaseret Zion in Illinois, it's Michael Schneider.
Yes.
Oh, you won't be deschneidered. Come on in.
Yes. I don't know what it means, but woo!
Yeah, all right. I'm not entirely sure what we're doing right now, Alex.
It was
You're
a
knowing it. Yes.
it was a pun on denied. You won't be deschneidered.
Yes, now I get it.
Come on in.
And from South Milwaukee in Wisconsin, I think it is Samantha M. Hitchcock.
Oh, Samantha M. Hitchcock, she's Milwaukeeing here.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it. Get excited.
Yeah.
Good for you for supporting for such an extended period of time.
Yeah. All right.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of the episode. I guess before we go, we should say one more time, please do check out the new Netflix show, Aunty Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun.
Nailed it.
Fantastic.
Nailed it.
We're so excited to see it. The trailer looks fantastic.
There's a
looks
very
really
good
great.
chance that by the time people are listening, even if they're listening as soon as it's come out, that I've already watched all of it. That there's a very good chance that's
Oh, is it
happened.
bingeable? Is it all dropping at once?
Yeah, it's all dropping at once. It's 6 episodes. I would recommend binging it. I think we've tried really hard. Sketch is a hard one to make bingeable, but we tried really hard to give it like running jokes and bits and bobs, and it's like it doesn't like have a arc because it's sketch, but it has like running jokes and callbacks. And I think the funnest way to do it is all at once.
Get it done.
Yes.
12:01 a.m. Pacific time. Get that algorithm cooking for us, please, God.
Please.
And you can follow, we'll put your Twitter handle in the show notes. What's your best one to get onto? Is it Twitter or Instagram?
It depends on what you follow, what you do.
You do your best work everywhere.
Yeah.
We'll put them all down there.
And there's also not one but 2 podcasts where we can hear you on. There's the Aunty Donna podcast,
Yes.
which I've been getting quite into lately. Very, very funny stuff.
We did there's an episode called Funny Mums and Dads, which is my personal favourite. And we've got one, I think it's coming out this Saturday, which is a Funny Mums and Dads sequel where funny mum and 2 funny dads are on a bus trip through Italy and they meet a funny dad from America. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds great.
And there's also Leguizamo with Mish.
Yeah, which is more of this ilk, more this kind of chitty-chatty, bit fun, bit silly, bit chill, bit talking about a movie you've never seen and never will, but you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll get around to watching that, and then you don't.
You probably won't.
And people can find us at Do Go On Patreon and on Gmail and
Twitter,
on YouTube.
Instagram,
on Twitter.
Facebook, everywhere.
I love plugging it like, we're on Gmail. So
Congrats on the award.
Oh,
Thank you
cheers.
so much.
That's very exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Very,
you.
very
Thank you very much.
exciting.
We
Yeah.
talked about it on Book Treat, the other show that we
Oh, yeah.
that I do that you guys were the guests on, but we haven't talked about on here that our web series was nominated for an actor. So thanks everyone that watched that show. It's still available online. Check it out on YouTube.
Actors are, for people overseas, it's the proper. It's like our Emmy Academy Awards thing, and they have like a web series. So it's proper good, guys.
Oh yeah, we're the real
Congratulations.
deal.
Thank you so much.
That's okay. I just think it's important for when there's a person from the outside on. You can't tell your American and British listeners how big of a
Sure,
deal it is.
yeah.
You got to be like, oh, whatever. So I can be like, no, it's a
Yeah,
big deal.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah.
That's actually why we asked
Yeah.
you to be here.
All right, I'm done. I've said it now.
Yeah.
He's like, can you let me
talk
go?
us up?
But thank you so much for joining us, Zach.
Thank you.
Sorry, Zachary. And,
Please.
Mr. Ruane, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you everyone for listening at home. And until next week, we'll say thank you and goodbye.
Laters.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.